wa antifili apiaje ene ebusuafo ni nyina sabiri mu nyina mo kofrodua wanum se adwuma no dɔso na so ye dan a te beye na mo den na wotwe nso me papa ye chebi abontindom hene ana se kurowura ye chebi hene wono so o mame da fam enti se me papa mame na da fam de na se me nana ene da fam no enti den na wotwe ono so ebanum sikasa wo chebi ene na wotwe pepepe enti ye wura abontindom hene bebi a wo bia no pay me ma hyeden wo ne abusuani nyina ochima nyina chima buakwa ene ochima nyina ma mu nyina hyeden yakopon ya domo ene na wotwe nyina beba chebi na ye ba beja oledi kwan fefefe sede amamre ene amane etie pepepe afei ma me fa saa hokwan na me fa sedama wo mo beboaye ema na wotwetwa mu yekoja Dr. Michael Ejekum Ado aka Kama yekoja no kwan e wo sushen yedamase papa damase bebre na Ghana mampani His Excellency John Dramani Mahamasi na Chief of Staff Yura Julius Debra ene mpanyifo aba nyina no yedamase papa na yada band boy immigration band boy damase MP se baye former Ayawaso West Ogon MP obaye na fe mpanyifo ahodo bebre Kumasi Tamale mu nyina yenyina yedamase papa se mutumbe boye na yedija Dr. Michael Ejekum ya yemu binom yene nanante ache yie pa no yedija no kwan ti na eno eno no pay abejafo be kamensa na yebidi nkomo ye minifa me benkum so akire yaw sompa yaw ye lawyer ni ena sekase mu so yaw wa ben nti yaw ha ofidua yankwanta na boache tromo de de hekronkron no enche ye bepeja no so hene odua yankwanta enti we de na nkese se beka na so maka ai yakudi hene esa ohu a asa bi e twa to se
me
bwa kunyama ya odua yankwanta ana fe mbankum so penso Jeffrey Kabute Okansi wono so executive director Revenue Mobilization Africa wono so yakase anyeje to pa de abua strategy no nimche bibia wono so ewo ha George different no so many alosa ada Dumase oh I see Krobodumase eji Krobodumase kada Klorojile aha tina eno no ana fe man first at school friend no Wanda Madilo development consultant ye ka se ye hwe ntoto niema hye niema ema mpuntu omra wa biom papa nti nyumeku akese to nsa friend se beboaye na itumi hye enwuma ma nitumi enyina wono nso ewa ha bi okan di sama yekonu mpanyifo ho a ye ne no enso ebedi komo Wanda ya makwa aba enene de edi kan ye hye ofia.
That's true. I've been on some other networks but I haven't really made time to be here.
Okay.
So,
all
good
right.
opportunity to be here.
Sure. Also on tree, but on one and over tree. You never catch it. Wanda so Ebekasa medical kind of development consultant. Into no so nim di owo no. What the bad boy amana ye to me edin komo pa bia fo da masere mo mre e ma munyina kwa ba bio. Ye share sem fan free ye levy, betting tax, emission tax. Aben e free ho. Sorry. O kan se ba me share sem fan free so. Ye nyina nim so man bia ye ba chechoro man na ye de eto e na chechoro man. Na Ghana mu na nka se kasa mu sheda nko yie. Wo mo etu eto no kora no eso. Nti abre bia no aban bi obeba bia no the concern and say obetumi enya or say they will expand the tax net. Say be nipa do no abetua. Nti na betumi kasa nka yi levy and afi betting tax na emission tax anya hwe kora no ke betumi aboa ma nya bibi kakra da support bi kakra ye afi ho. Yenso ya kora ya nso no IMF yensa hye omanum. Nti ye ho ehen ha ye mo ebenye free America ne mia do USAID so ne na so a ano so yesi yetwam nti kakra be fi beba no so no eno so ya choko no ene niam tisa wonyini se anamotu a yetu ye se yi levy ye yi betting tax ene emission tax yi dey free ho no ebe bo man no e wo kwan bi so ana
ebe bo Ghana papa no be se me kanto aso sa se onim se yi levy ade ye be sha ase ekura no ye to ye nsa se e kire abontene nye Ghana ha ye de kire abontene se obi ye bio e na anye yi oba sa abefu yi so dwadie ni abefu yi so ni amaye se odi ka befa so ana odi wudi udwabia odi sa aketua no e befa so no fintech obekopoto kasa be fintech na Kenya for the omudi enim kakra na omu eye sa e-levy abibia wodi betuma to e-levy wo omu koye na nkoye yi inti ye me se ye nkoye nim ye hu se no se ebe ni yie dia enye se ye ko fa sa kwan so inti ye ka kira aban se enya ade se wo ye ne kura kukudame for omo ye research omo hwehwemu any economist apinfo omo kuni omo bemu yingina kaye enso aban nti o se ope 11 billion e de akotititi ne ho ka na o ka sa na ka chense sa scan de unya e say uhun sa nkrofo na omo sa abef no so a o be dwane ye kan we ntie yen e na of course o se obeye na ye ka te so unya nti o se si ada obenya 6.4 billion e ka say me ba fidie so be kan say o unya e say sa nkrofo na wo ka no omo be dwane afisa fidie no so na yem say aban ntie yen nti e-levy no nchechem kakra wo no say na a regressive tax tax bi a to sini ma usika no ennoso ebetwe asan ehiafo dodo no so na be di omodem na enye se ye be ko ekiri akọ bi se obi kura na mu fidie so mutisi krom na mukọ ye mbisa mu mobile operators ya na won ye momoyi omuka pefe se omodwuma no so ayede na ate esa se na nkofo na kan so omedwane wo abefo no so na omedwane efi so eja de obeye bia wo so bia onye biom enso na sa eto na wo no eto ba ko bi wo ansana na e-levy ye de beta so air communication service tax enti na no na aban se emfa se nkofo 1000 na wo so a sa aban nya 1 cedi na onya 1000 cedis wo enso ye ka che ne se odi e-levy be kan ho pe sa 1000 na wo nya no kra mpo no
ebebo
enkrofo ni bi be dwane efiri so enti sa sika no kra bebo unye no nso nka ho ye ba ye ka ne se omo ye se e-levy no ehun pudo ni baba ni ntino o mentie na o mkoso ye nti e-levy no it was a regressive tax tax bi a e be twa asan emwa wo na e-levy na so na edi momo operators no edem na o munti bi nyasa o musika na o moye no nti the same e-levy na edi nkofo de ma nkofo bi kwapo na o munya nkofo meye momo nu kra o mo area o kra bi operators bi mu shut down nti bo hia na muti kuo ema omo na mu gina ni no be ka kire ese asembia na ha omo pa enso ye nti on communication companies na omo je sa 1% ma aban na ngasa na omo so aka se nkita wodi aban ni omo edi anko na nim papa bia yeso ana ye wo mu aye advocacy ye yeso se ne yeso na nkita wodi papa bia eni ye anko so papa wo be hia ye ka se anko so papa nti no aban ye ni je reaction bi e ti so mo pempam mo ho kakra na mo sa mo go town meetings so be ka ya eno so crash say na say there was no proper tax planning one shed eto no be je a ye trase eji nkonya ehwe si isika obenya afimu eno ye baako na ade so ade be bre oman no fo no so the tax burden eno so count be hwe as na de akoto ye kan na o mentie nti na e-levy na nksan de na say
yes hu asem
basesi a oyi firi hoyi obi we bisa se adenti na make say e-levy nso enye me pa kire se oyi firi ho no na no ntre sika na enfa se 1000 na ana 500 na e-levy ni ba no obehwere no nkwa na yese ehwe sesi asa nkofo no mudwane ye no onyina beba e ma nkofo bi aso abeka ho nti sika no so beba na emom uhwe ukọ wanim no ubehwe a de bia me ka kire se to na ye gigi no ni ama miensa ene bebe bi uji to ya ode igu hoyi baako ubehwe so na eto sika no unfa nye niama enfa we say enfa so mba de a ene wa ye ade yi udi sika no ko dore omo ya greek na se omo ori wa ma omo loan no mako do fu ana mako poultry na sa sika na ye de mane nkrofo de bia say to poultry ana ye to mo emo any poultry nkokọ ye wi crap no say ye kra efi amano ne abagana ha every year bia no over $300 million so and ye de be yi enam e be wo enu keke enam o poultry nam no meanwhile ye nkrofo ha na ko sa asunyan belt ni na ho na no munye nkokọ nkosua ni sa ne ma nyina no enne Ghana ha salmon crap we enu crap no e ka say we Abidjan salmon
we Ghana salmon Abidjan de ne de che Ghana
just ya kofom salmon ntos you see we nye Ghana we Wagadugu straight na ye wie so a de be hyew yem kra e kire say enne me ne wo ka say crap no ya kosa kofom sa magari enra gari ni crap no ye kra gari e bakruma adan
enkruma ye kra enkruma
enti e dem potin
watermelon ye kra watermelon from Burkina
enti sa niama wem na yesi ye tenase ne ye hwe se ye de sika no e ba ko hye sa ye je eto ni wi a ye de be hye bia bi mu a sika no omo de ko ye adwuma so be ba mfa so no man
e de amoman no ye fa ne se yi levy so na me nam de nya se sika yi eto yi ba betting tax so yi na me nya bi kakra ana emission tax we friend we say tax and also naija e de bi kakra ba ye free ho enti say sika na ka say fa yi levy e fa betting e fa we say tax so de ba no sa eto ye no anya de yensa be chiwa ka bi enti ya wo kan no ye benya bi wo he abesi we anan
enti wiase de bia be ka say mo say wiase afana nya ohuka expenditure say nipa individual won kon say ana wonu webusu amu ofie ana oman ana company say UTV say o inflows usika be ba obotobu no say o you see expenditure no say we yes sure say expenditure no endore wo
okay
ebi ni say wo first k bi say o kosi pa olubu dam no na ka o kosi dam na ka nkofo mu bia entos e wo sa dam area no omo benya nsuo ni bi dia entos no na ma eso abanfa so ene $12 million ahiegu into budget ni mu no sa tokro na bem sa utwa wo ka sa sika ro ko be hwa aban we abe waka se otwatwa ne ho ka bi mu we yi nkofo ministers no utwa so wo be ka se yenkita odi de bia na ye ka se omu twa size of government so if you corona mu ba no na nkofo dodo na ka se twa expenditure size of government yi so oba se niama ni bi mu a odi sika ne ye no so hwe se niama no odi sika ne ko hye mu a eso fa so no e be do so cutting expenditure corruption enso e problem se si ame no ka se sa po alugu sika ya make chiro ene national cathedral sika bi mu a e ko ye se ke se sika ne tina ete ho a usi enu bi e usika na egu ubotom ni sa gap no bi se roto eto bi se roto na enye se ye yifio eno sa no ese esande babiom eno so diska kakra bebre amere ade e da begu e futu no proper targeting of the resources se ameka de edika no se unya sika ni bia se od ba ko hye niama bi se wo ka se big push o mo ka break ni niama yi ese e bi ni die chiri se sika ye de be ma omo a omo e ready se omo bedu efuo no ama eso aba mfa so so o te se ye se ye GDP e cost 5.7 a problem na e mu bi ye ntan obi a o no kra ye ka che o no se 5.7 na efrihin sector ben eba esi efi mining sector so obe kanu kure e wo Ghana ha pa in the year 2024 one of the worst years ye di ye hu dem e fa mining galamsey a man who so ema media for kwa ya media coalition against galamsey so obe kaya na ebufuo ni kese yakoma no kuri ye za ebufuo na we emu ebesi ne eti sa sika na enya ye no mining sector illegal mining sika bebre no ene sa niama na ye fe ni galamsey no edi edem ho agric agriculture na ye de bia no ye si akoko ofuo bebre so nim say ye diska akoto ene ye dwiri ni egu nti once you are getting the mining hike no agric na eno betimi agi nkofo bebre say udua cassava say udua sa banchi ni wie ye no ye koyi efi efuo no so ba omo mbedudwa efi efuo no so wa mo eduma omo mbe do krapo ebeji eduma omo mbe dua omo mba ko bubu aba omo mba dandan no e dia be se ye de ko e bi e krapo a ana de ko e drink krapo a no e de be ofufu a sa nduma ene eduane e de be bre wu nyina no ye se kobrane akoton na efuo no na nkofo mbe do gold nti wunya gold no gold na otu wie pe ensa mbe eno enya ade a ye di e be fifi bi mu utu wa hape na wase efu no wase koko efu wase banti efu no ewie no saa gold no enimu nsem na asakura ye nsuo kura pa ye benum emu ama ye di soldier fo ye betia o aka ni petrol ama om dia ko di nkofo chi wo nwurem saa enwura no a obi ya ba ko di o mechi wo no forest no ka obu uko obi kroma obi be fro play no abehwe forest no ahwe mmoa ewom ama osika ye de no yakotutututu mu asɛ no ama ye de car any sika any etuo ba ko chesi nipa o se on free nsuo no ho ense fi forest ho enti ye bedi ye ho dem awie ye wie a ya to gold no forest ni ho biom potential of tourism no ya shinebu sa dua na dua kese de twa no ba ko se pum ye mfanya hwe ya na ekọ na ye dwiri asase ni nyinemu agriculture kokoo no emba biom cotton no so ya be dua na yenye bi ndua biom banchi no so ayentwen ndua bi enti yesese enfuo na ye de ya ho de nya ko gugalamse nim no eno ye one off sika e baba ko se pum kese pa ba ko e be wi a udina
ye baba galamse sam no so say aban na yi sa yi levy betting tax any sa emission tax ye free we he fa na ban no e betumi enye sika e de atechiro man de sense say be di kankan no ye de to na atechiro man say fa na ban na be nye sika de si sa yi levy betting tax ene we na name
property rate e wo ho ukọ eto ne gigye no mu nkofo eso mu tua tax o Ghana obekọ potoka yes 70% of the people expected to pay tax are in the informal sector et yes nkofo eso mu tua to no we nkofo du bia emu nson wo informal sector say ye edi dwa yi a eni aban adwuma mu na san nkofo ya ye ken omo ha omo ye obadwuma esa aban na eben omo bako ya bibi tie night and dawn economy say ahoma mo di adwuma enumre eni ahomachi maame na go fa abode ni banchi ka kese 60,000 70,000 de ba malata market no no beba ahomachi be se 3-4 ma no wo ho beji lampu won ho se wuni a wo beji a just united don economy wo hiri ska wo beko artisan yen fa one sector construction okoboa dan ba ko so a obeji 50 60 and 70,000 Ghana cedis wa na yaji tax won ho ni ebedi edem abro so crap to say dodo na maintain o man bia munipa dodo na en fi Ghana ha
omo ye POP ne
beka se magic e na no abo
tiles ne wo mu nyina
omo fi amano ne na yaye o mra bi wo kroma say so omo be bie company etimetu aye to a there's a ceiling about $10,000 sa sika na omo ntimi nya no kwantimi ye be sha se ko ntimi nya nkrata o de be na eduma na ono so e wo ho enti seke ye de mra bi ba ya ta ma ye ko gi building permit no sa paper huma no so no ye mfa ngu so say mesi obe eduma wo no ni ho to na ofre obi a obi so wakotek ni amomo so kwa survey obi to abegya ka tell say we block say na wo say ya boka krapo no say 3,500 blocks no na 3,000 blocks krapo ni atichim say ye di embrace na be yes ade ti sa mesi no eto say ni ye di oye na adwuma bia otwa obe to block 100 and 150 a day say no be man sa carpenter no so wo ho plumber so ba be hedwuma sa site na in the construction sector no nkwa no sa o de obe POP sa omu nya atua bia e fa obe hwe na nsen kran kofo omu piapia phone ni ame omu tonton ofa e ya na edin sa agro mitietie short videos na omu ye na one digja a day crap no waton ade be se 500 600,000 na o de bo say ni mfa so kakra be wo so 1,000 na 2,000 in a whole month e say ni omu di nkita ho ni ehwe ni ejiji sa nkitwa yin na and so when you expand the tax net na e be yi enso say baby how do wanu betu no baby how dey eduane ne ba ko to a ye be bie mu no e na obi didi wanti government say o industrial parks so man na skills training ya ye dey ho ato yi e say wo o man bia no niama wo agudie na wo no say ya Greek ana niama shisha zase asete bauxite kaolins aniama nyina na you have to train the people skills in Sanojuma no you connect your raw materials to skills and skills to industry na bema what is the Europe Trump ne yakana o se woni ama na o de ba no wo de ba ma no ne ho
wo kra na me se me bi sase sa ye beba no so me wanum so
na se wo ye adwuma na uma ukuro ma no wo dan ne ama na ye value chain na esia sa nkofo no umma o industrial park na mo ye o adwuma na you can locate them ubetime hu bibia omo wo beji omo kakra aban no ubie adwuma no nyama menu beba ho company income tax sit any personal income tax saa de ama we ugigi eno ne to no eno am on my mene me nya ba me ye share program so oka na asem say ubeko kro bi so UK omunfo no eyahe omugudie no eyahe enso so omo economy no ubo ra house obe eduma saa kakra me o se mpa na obeji wo ho no eno na ebe boa no owie so a odisika no on fa nkotwa no mu o odisika no ba ko ra bebia ubeko no omo ekuafo omo no omo sika omo de ya agrek no nti me fa ye de no so enkohye edore a na yakoji tax
okay me da say ma me bra me ko yi madilo so na ye hwe wo hwe asem ewo the bokrata I think daily graphic animu a asem a US ambassador to Ghana eka and say despite elimination of the US aid contracts US commits to life-saving programs in Ghana, Ambassador assures. Some of the people are not here free. Yet the name I call also 10% tariffs. Now, I Kwame ahin yade kona ahin yenya na mo sande 10% abetusuwe. Enti bebi akebetumi nya bibi kakra fi no. Sa USA da betumi support yen no. Ese sesika no ma enti ya ho de ne yade ba kokoshe ho. Ya de nema no so konso a tariff 10% ababeto so. Enti na be ma exporter no so no ono so ho ba kire no. Nema no tumi nko bebre konso a ho nsam se de sitianko. Enti no we are already in a tight corner. And yasan e-levy, yasan ababe betting tax, yasan so ababe sa emission tax e de free ho. As a development consultant, uhunu ni say sa de we a asie no. Oman no ye betumi ye ho beto yen, ye ho be henha yen, nyama be kosan na ade ama yen. Ye ho nkokire ye too much. Ewo oman chichiri mu.
Well, very good morning to all your viewers. It's a difficult moment for Africa generally, but it's also an opportunity for us to look within. We have been babysitted for many years, and the difficulty that has brought to us is that
brofuna ba
the difficulty I'll try, but some of these ones are very sensitive, so I want to
but so I say to message
no problem. So the difficulty this has posed, I mean, to we the African countries is that we are still import dependent and we are not able to produce more. And you will realize that because of that challenge, African countries are not able to take care of themselves, in fact, to take care of even their own budgets. Usually, we have to rely on aid from outside, budgetary support and all that. And if we continue like this, I mean, it's natural. If you even run a home and you always depend on loan to run the house, it's as if you're on life support. And it is important that we look within, that's one. That is why programs like Plenty for Food and Jobs in the previous government, when it failed, some of us were hurt, because it offered an opportunity to revamp the whole agricultural sector, all the service chains, from the planting to the harvesting to the post-harvest value addition, and then you can export. But you will observe that we didn't take advantage of that. Now, the removal of the US aid support to African countries, don't mistake it, it's not only for Ghana, for all African countries around the globe and all that. What this opportunity has brought to us, even though it is a problem, but what it has brought to us is, one, can we cut our frivolous budgetary expenditures?
Yes, you see kasabu na ye kan wasam so ebetumi de ye die ne ebetumi ateso ana.
Yes.
Said be ya ye nim say utwi ne sheda anya papa dia. But me viewers say
I know they are allow them when we get to a different topic. This one is a bit technical.
Technical. I want to the technical now the aye na fe dia.
So it is important that let's look within. What can we produce? If we produce, can we consume it ourselves? If we can consume it ourselves, which ones do we send out? Sometimes we're in a hurry. Oh, I want to export. But you cannot even feed your local, markets. So we end up importing. They say tomatoes, gari, watermelon. We are still importing them from neighboring countries. And so those are the things that are putting pressure on our cedi. And then you go to town, you see say the dollar is how much? 15 Ghana cedis. Then tomorrow you go, it is 18 because the pressure at 2 years so Anna, is that the word? To the extent that we are importing everything. Tomato we are importing, gari we are importing, fish. When my brother was talking or say now we have what Abidjan salmon, and then we have Ghana salmon and all that. It's embarrassing. We cannot continue along these lines. I was we have to come to a point where we decide that some of these issues, produce it. Right? Now we can produce locally. Senior, we don't have to use our little resources, our little dollar that we have to import. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Oh, Madilo, wouldn't the same way in our weekend. A tossumupa. But it's easier said than done. One say, a baby a bar, and look at something, look at this, look at that, look at this, look at that, look at this. Baby, you are saying, now and look at.
I know true, very true, but it is the commitment.
Okay.
You see, we have never been committed to it. Agric is simple. How much rice do we import into this country? Aveima, the northern regions, Aveima, northern regions, even in Winneba here, you bet me I produce rice, local rice. That can feed the local markets. But commitment, banner, government, and I say, abino, Eddie, Tari or Eddie or Muchi. So those are the things. We are only looking for cocoa, gold, and all that. Those are big issues. Say me what farm. And I say you also have farm. He also has a farm. He also has a farm. We will be able to feed our family. If I can feed my family, you can feed your family. He too can feed his family. That will not aggregate to the level of importer. It will always be an occasion where we can be able to grow what we eat. That's one. So that will take off the pressure from the budgetary support in these angles. We are importing fertilizer into this country, and even sometimes it becomes a challenge. Farmers say they can't get it on the market, and it even sometimes becomes a scandal. Sometimes even they steal it and they take it out to neighboring countries. And say we are losing a lot of money in areas that are unnecessary. We can be able to channel that into local production. We used to have a government say it is a champion government, Operation Feed Yourself. Even though many people don't agree with a champion in his style of governance, but till today it is still the most potent project since independence any government has tried. Where do we stand in this scheme of things? We need to find that local energy, that local drive, that understanding that let's grow what we eat. Oh, maybe I know. I saw that these things are produced in Ghana.
Yes.
Before now, we were importing it from neighboring countries or from South Africa. You need dollar. Send your way to me higher import of this kind of things. Before, even this container, the rubber here, this one, until Canem Industries and Fuel came to Ghana, we're importing all those things. So even though we are making slow progress, But we need that charge, that government support a bit me ironing on a large scale and advise ourselves that we are looking within. All the things that Trump is doing right now is simply looking within. Many people are laughing at him and making all kinds of statements. He is looking strictly within. He has said, we are not going to depend on China. We are not going to depend on any developing countries. Who the car buy a Kuma will pay 10% tax in order to bring the car. Because Ford, any several cars, Ford, Freightliner, Chevrolet, and all that. And now, almost they have been able to develop their own aircraft. Which of the aircraft? Boeing also comes from China, from America. And now, you even oil find more oil. And you see American cars, very big cars, they spend a lot on their fuel. They are looking within. The revenues that go outside that leak to China, that leaks to the other European countries, they are beginning to say, we don't want your business, carry your business. And America, so they have the population to support their consumption. They have over 400 million population to support their population. And we need to look within, and that's all that is happening. It's true, sir. The USAID project and all that have helped over the years. But you see, when you continue to feed the child every day, even when he's old, you don't allow him to exercise himself and walk and do what is necessary. Over time, the child is not, performing to the capacity of the child. And this is an opportunity. We have to look within. Say, I bet me, I produce basic normal. To say toothpick, to say shoes, to say belt, to say a few things are able to me within locally. Say, the economy will not be import dependent.
Yes, but you man do one bit to be what can't I na me call baby. When you say ye Pam Lacoste, Edico US.
Yes.
Ye Pam Lacoste. Yes. Edico US. They
are operating in the free zones. Free zones. Even jerseys, this material jerseys. There are companies in Ghana here that are bringing the material, producing here. You see, free zones, they have to export like 90% and all that. Listen, what are you in a hurry to export when you have not fed your local market?
They export 70% and 30%.
Yes. What are you in a hurry to export? Many of the companies that are operating within the free zones, me, Maka said, I've said it several times, free zones is a free zones. If we don't watch it well, it's a big scam. Why is it a big scam? Because a lot of companies come here. Now they hide under the cloak of free zones. Juma to say 10 years after enjoying all the tax waivers, 10 years now, say they have closed down. Then they go around, sell it to their colleagues, come back again, enjoy another tax break for 10 years. Then another group comes. And the company belongs to the same person. They just change ownership, behave as though they have left and they are coming back. And it puts a lot of pressure on our city. Because
Agya Kwabena okay when him say company ni bi there and you say omu cd bia omu san omu din
yeah
omu tena kuma as so na na yeda
omu san omu din pra
na Ghana yeda
omu se come
say Ghana now say info ni bi mu emu shemu
say company
obi antimi ko masters enye phd embe ka chem say no tikroma no nimnia emini Agya Kwabena na me dey meaning there omunim
it's a very huge concern. We have to watch very closely and make sure because see the free zones some of them is a money laundering business because omo produce adiane wa with low labor omo tuashi go and see our work our citizens maybe 700 Ghana cedis 200 Ghana 300 Ghana cedis for a whole month now omo produce omo we are also 70% abroad and 70% no call they are going to collect dollars cash dollars $1 no embahabium embahabium if the dollar was coming back to Ghana it will help our currency. I think sir if government really want to control the free zones and bibi ombe produce bia wan kasa buy from them now take it abroad and go and sell and make your money. It will show up our reserve, our international reserve with the dollar. You will see that the dollar, the CD, exchange rate, very, very stable over a period because they stick it abroad. They sell it, no money is coming back, they come and produce again. That's the way they do it. And some of the companies, they are in this country because labor is cheap. There are US companies in this country that are paying so less. They have moved their online companies to this country. Ghanaians are working for them every time and here they pay them little. Such companies, say, if they are supposed to operate abroad, they can't pay the labor, and that's why they are here. And so we have to watch very closely. Saying, to me, I manage number one revenue from such companies. Saying, to me, I gather and I say, to me, a country. We need to do that.
Okay. Me that's a pa. Yeah, some pa. Yeah, share. At all, you say, Mikai, a brand new Susana, maybe a friend, my alata. Or to be baby. Simple, capre, simple, the demo talking or Musa, so not the business, of course. Adia Bakwa. Me de back can't son about you told you teacher of mine. I quite remember about 2 years or 2.5 years ago, me can say move here. And you may quit 2 oil organ hano. One more corporate taxes so much here. They don't pay. Huge sums of money. I quite remember about could be crown okay cabo on about $3 billion with some additional oil entitlements. Can be some domain in now it's more than $3 billion. So I be corona na area and ya copy bio IMF. Near share a brand is a butcher says a huge money as the second says canwa.
You bet me there.
I can bet you in the name of baby. These multinational companies are a waha a year juman. One to cheer muno. Na yesterday. Ye yi adwene fi omoso na Ghana ni bojobojo dwade ni kakra bi ono so di ni dwano. De bia na wo ma gije to ejina omoso. Enti e ma Ghana business no enyini atape. Wodi ni se sai levi ni aduma ye yi de free way no. E bibia se etumi puso abanama no hu se hey aha no mu sei sika bi wo se etumi kokoje na ye gise sika no se de be ya se obi make I quite remember no mo say omo tax ba ku bi is it excise tax ana
yes
yes no mo say yes omo say omo yes na be ya cigarettes it's alcohol na nso komo nso ebi da so me wa nso nye harmful eti ya wudi say ye to gigie mu as oman no ebe ye sa levis nyina de free ho no e de necessary ye asoman e wo to jujom nititiru any multinational companies organ ha dukura ni ye mu bi no ana ye kana I say ye the passion na ye ka esa so bubu ye kwase adodo e de necessary ye se na be ya be ye yi we free ho we ma bi o no ye betu nya bi de be sha na mu a Emma de oye Ghana ni ono so ye ne de kakra no ade so ni nyina nkonko so no go
eja me da say question now obusa no hu hia pa me starting common na fi baby I call business school on say mpembebre e ka economics ye nyina ye ka Adam Smith de ya na e finish Adam Smith no Scotland ni Adam Smith no ni makoladwa inti ye entiase wo economics ni nyina no ye the Adam Smith he's the foundation of all economics inti sabi maybe I tell me say your Adam Smith or baby or Ghana me modni me shall mo fancha me you know but Adam Smith ni economics ni nyina his understanding at least as it pertains to Europe and I say fa kwa odudwa no ninti ase no de ye ne ngoma eja me kan bibia si asem so asana me de abaye de mu Adam Smith no ninti ase mu de kwan e fa so aye twato ana taxes no principles ben na and I'm sure say me apenye or had there say so tax expert no niema nine biso eno o si ejina jeto de dika ni say nipa ko betimi atua ability to pay inti osi so obejo obia to a obia omana anase amanfo no obia nti ato as nearly as possible proportionate to his income inti de dika no samio tekua na se jeme mu sima ana mu obumu oha o jeme ba ko a e wo so obia no ye proportionate to their war inti
so be 1,000 I give 10%.
Yes.
Obi will 100 eje mo 10%.
Yes.
It will be ne die.
As proportionate to your income as possible.
Okay.
Inti sa principle na ABI because obi wo sika pa inti en charge na 35. Obi ni sika inti en charge na 10.
Okay.
So that depending on wa ho odin mu no, ye beje o de wa ho odin betumi.
Okay.
But the principle that tells me you say ye je de wa ho odin betumi a ye hwe ye say a benefit a man for no. Inti say me just 35 I say madwen mu no de me tua no ne mfaso de a oman no menya fi mu no de me tua no compared to mfaso de a menya no ebro so. Inti me ankasa no say emfa no de me tua ma aban no me hwe de aban no ya irrespective of the me tua no mfaso de no eso inti ame because my whole day bit to me.
Okay.
There are some who here, and that is where the multinationals will come in. Say, I was say efficient, and I say economic efficiency. Inti, yen training any can say a juma ko. Say bio a juma way, a bit your tax. We are known to be in a juma. If it's a tax no, a juma no, unja taxes no now what there. I also did charge my forecast to keep the economic enterprise going. No, name ho. Inti sa wo share tax bia na. The dikai the maybe ne saa to no na ho odin betumi the toso me nu faso de be na me de be ma de meje ne saa to no ebebo the meje no so the toso me ensa meje na making sure say adwuma na o ye na odinya saa faso de ditia tax no mingu say adwuma no anase saa economic enterprise no be cause atena ho ama na timi atua tax na de toso 9 ease of administration and the friend convenience se bi o hye to no na se mentiase na complex na kwan amefa so amedi so no minti nya na wan hye to na mfaso ni so ejade nja me start ka say Adam Smith all cancer we no onni makola dwane say statistical service na otwe ya or say 92% of Ghana business in informal and micro. First, near say between 70 and 80. Or say 92%.
So papa.
Chese Jumaku e wo man ni mu nyina no. Mu ubum oha mu nwotwe pe na ye formalized. Mu adiokron mienu e informal. E kire say nya or Tyler carpenter wo mi fie sisi a me no ka sei adwuma a oye eja ebia meko bosome ansa na manya sai sika no but obeye adwuma na otwe a obenya sai sika no na otwe no right me own tax ni bi there is no way there is accountability for it so the nature say 92% of adwuma ko nyina ye informal no eche say aban nim sa ability to pay question no ye ntimi ya no because the owosika say ebia oni account oji say ni momo now momo is structured which is what will bring me to the e-levy conversation inti obia ability to pay no because say makola dwamu obia ni obia sika because obia de ni sika aboneta ma no inti ye ma me no ma chiche tam ni bebre bi okra okra obeka choso oni bi inti the dikai I would say a year no for a population at 92% of your businesses now informal. And say, quite many a befa so a behu, dear Osika, no betting a chia, need your Osika on Timintiano. Iodine. But I buy a chair, I think took the shortcut. Is a very easy route. Because again, economic efficiency, which is the autonomy and San Jose Major Toa. I was a incident on economics. E-levy, for example, is on a channel. Inti sebi eja amatowa de we 100 cedis. You say VAT also about 21%. Bosome me ko en ya tia me PAYE ana me employer at me sa aketa because sebi omo me formalized sector na yeti omo bosome. The attend bosome obeto ade we our say tia ho 21%. But oyin cash e won the bottom the mount say we 100 cedis gia on tiato but offer the phone e ka say 100 cedis ni tia momo a obetua to wo ho sebi monfa nche me nyansa nim because the conversation yes to on obia sebi owo nisika and I say yeah charging as an incident of their war. We are charging the tax as an incident of kwaya mefa so amitia there, which is not an economic incident. Sebi me send and I think a few days so me send this guy mama or odian kwanta and now no pay ya sabra na yi levy wo no enye dwadie enye economic enterprise but they better me tax ababra metua me tax boso me awie me koto we a metua me tax also me send se me ade se me de ma basa
kabaz
de be ko amintua hwe for purposes of e-levy nunti o jemia then the incident tax na nkasa ho dwene no as it defeats the very principle they charge taxes. Having said that, I think the bigger conversation is to who do say direct tax, indirect tax, who can sin and I say tax are prohibitive. Yeah, the two be better so because you perceive a tea subai be so and I perceive a can be so. Misusu say me ankasa misusu yem misusu say empem bebre no because of the informality nti omo asabi omo dwen tax policy no ho no empem bebre no ya na omo use the shortest cut omo pede asabi o eyefu sabi but the eyefu no nche say no na ye fortunately new GR a friend is a commissioner consultant KPMG consultant on taxes so empire near bebo say he at least understands the theory and understands the practice in a way I bet me I expanded taxes no because and yes okay sika eko momo no so it actually means that there's a lot of economic activity it is also say because sika bebre ko momo no so no nti yen charge a percentage say be na wa we tax person no unya wadwuma yie what you should be finding is what level of that is economic incident what level of that nature nia onipa bi wo ansa na wo hu dia wo because the edi kan say what say hu dia wo enye say ye charge
hu dia beje wo
ansa nia hu dia beje wo nti adwuma na wo ho potin ne say I was say hu say sebi the oye carpenter no say na nkesa no wo bosome ni sika ye say na ya charge ne say as a percentage of that eno ne adwuma kese na ye ntimi nyeye
we de me twa wan kora obi ye swimming pool bi ono ye swimming pool no kwa ne charge $40,000
absolutely
enti say ono eno say informal on ko accounting job ya $40,000
oh ma receive on ko accounting job ya
CCTV camera
CCTV any one more year sane man I want to say wo mu tua omo jisika pa
sika
okwa ba so na betumi afa na saafo na betumi atwe o maba mu bi den na betumi aye ya
eja eno na ye enkomo kese pa misusu say wom no and baby and I say we my things maka wa fidie so pay answer na Adam Smith obia kase economics ono na ye abose no answer na oye the wealth of nations or a book titibi which they call the theory of moral sentiments say answer na dwadie besi no say nipa sudi kan nipa suban edi dwadie kan nti bebre ye nyina ye focus on the economics no but nipa su which is the theory of moral sentiments no edi kan no kwaredie the propriety of persons sympathy of people no sebi enudi kan ansa na dwadie aba eja de oye swimming pool yi sebi de kan I was saying nyina ye ne say kwan ben ya befa so a 92% of all the businesses no fortunately empem bebre no o ma register with RGD and ORCCC empem bebre no o ma register but bebre so register carpenter enco register na company mason enco register na company onye but esem say omo na chichire mind potinti I was say aban the edika aban faso cooperatives he needs to group them. The kind no because I was say you hunu omo na you hunu say no omo. Inti ubisa say kwan be na befa so the kind we need to find and group them.
The licensing them.
That's the second thing. The kind you hunu omo carpenter for say na wo Ghana, plumbers for say na wo Ghana, tiler say na wo Ghana, photography say na wo Ghana. There should be a primary identification and grouping of these workforces. We should introduce a licensing regime. A licensing regime, yes, say electrician e be majuma. And also our license. Our electrician. So our license now, or juma na, there should be a system. A juma bi obey biano. He should report to the licensing commission and answer the licensing agent in some form. A company, yes, on your annual returns. Inti afibian obeko the friend is saying ORC and our company registrar or no acco tax office or acco. But even companies no na register with the tax office. But the I say I can tell you the I say and pay brain no tax system no. Wow, the who shema na e kamia say una odon ho aba right sebi ejuma answer na obenya law firm practice. I also will register with GRA. It's a requirement to get a law firm's practice. Now unya do who shema say as una odon ho aba right, but any can say yes sir sebi if people are volunteering to be in the system no and I will say ye chire omo make it more convenient for them. And you can say or move volunteer into your license and you can say munina register. Yes, because you're dealing with 92% of your people are informal. Ejumane koso but uni momo. It is a over organizing or more. I will say it must be incentive based because otherwise ejumano dada one be register obey ejuma one be tax huda inti with a view to formalizing no and yes omo say bio omo because me be register with GRA no na e come here say omo mom e na yebe ye de omo sense omo ankasa e de omo ho aba no ye de afofo na omo ma ni nyina ho bone e ba beso omo betua afofo nyina aka nti eja we need to formalize. Formalization of our businesses is the key thing. Until say you bet me hunu the real value of a more informal sector no. A better ding say tono at least obia betia nefa mudie. Now it comes to the multinationals, but I think there is an important question I need to answer. Multinationals empembe brainers and obebi ejuma bia wo kromu no. To say World Bank had what they call ease of doing business. To say I'm friend be ready report. Almost su niema oye ejuma wo mai bia mu a ema ejuma no konanim. Taxes come. Inti is a multinational say en fan say obey mine e wo krom ha. Sebio obia ya ejuma although say at the back of economics a moral sentiment no obia be ejuma obefa no ho adi de obetimi afa no ho adi nti say man ho kwan say onfa we mfi wo nchen without consequence and it's part of the say me bo wasum na bo ni bia ani ho a say mitimi wa me bo wasum ya say otimi mfo otimi wa ro ka wa fa wa bati nti enkosi say obehu say there is a consequence to nyema bia ya hyehyɛ ho say enye no ho asotwe ebeda di no adwumako bia befa de obetimi afa ontua ho hwe. And tax laws are very complex. Even if you be a lawyer for any tax practitioners, no, any accountants, you'll be under tax. Tax is a very specialized area of practice, whether as a lawyer or as an accountant. Those are very specialized areas. And I'm running a very, very complex into area where we free transfer pricing, multinationals. That's the biggest thing. Sebi or the BBF Nikrom Brazil, Abaha. No, I catch us at the crony $100,000. Na ha ejumano etuaka nti by the time obetiti ni sika nyina obetiti se ode adwuma ode nyama bi afi ne ho aba no obetiti ka wie no na profit nasa and because to principle edikan ne se uti ade wo obubu ni ka wie na ye car chese to no ntu ahwe but Honor tax officer ne bam to reassess say ade awaye no unti ase ne se udi evade tax into we marry state and I say ubesa tu an foforo into I think that the complexities of tax laws I was say tiso well not to say the political season is over but one of the things that going into the campaigns NDC can say obe reforming the indirect tax system VAT system you about me so they on the one time tax like a single corporate from Estonia into 20% or 20 as a tax no
across board
across board I think
that's a flat
the flat rate one
flat rate the new year say rate na ke be 50 and 20 and 15% but we need to have some simplicity particularly because of the informality right because a 92% is informal after no copy who accountant akope who lawyer abetwere who crack onye inti after adwuma nankasa no carpenter ni o after na okope no man akope accountant amana be ni books mo akojiare akofile tax returns onye inti we need to find a way to simplify the tax compliance and convenience, no?
Okay.
Yes, sir. And then multinationals, yes, they have a lot of room. But I think that the tax office, Sebi, lawyer Yabeka just said, Commissioner General of GRA, ABA or my BM, no pan and to me so. And baby Breno, Yana Nipa Agya Kwabena. But the GRA is a very, very, very big post because of our wide discretion. Sebi, so assess tour. Now ka say ebia mo ne nya adwe crime ran se wu betua ansa no wako actually akotwe ho manso nti I think that they should use that discretion of course to whip up the informal sector no not by using necessarily a stick or more encouraging informal sector no whilst the very formalized and taking advantage of the system they use the whip on that side to bring them into alignment into 92 na informal no you encourage you to formalize whilst the very formal extreme no use the nuance of the law and sometimes very extreme corporate practices to evade taxes no use that discretion to whip them back in.
All right. We the technicalities in some kwetwa akra mo ke bia na mehwe din brofo na eni nyina aka ho bi se na be betumi aboa na yetumi internet de omode mi akota school pa nya sekretwa akra na wo de me pese de be 2 minutes bi go back na the same issue ya ho na yetumi ehwe na yenti me mesa ba so na I can say, Yanshwe, now me can be about these multinational companies. And yan find say free zones, tax exemption say the mass and kofui. For me, it be a while. What you say doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I say,
no, we now they be a man now.
Onipano. Bebe ya dem fa so obenya no eso
niam ame
ye de kakra ese ye de maye no so a eno so ye se ye poro ho kakra e de mo no ane de no eso no etu gini se as ye duru hei de bia na meka se ade bi nse mu no na ne ye mu a aboa bi ese obi dwan wo no no bi nso nkwama ye yie enti sabre America for amaye hunu se one be me pam ode hye go back to your country Niama me de mam no me fa mamu bio niama mo de ba me de to ato so any sa economic niama ne me ya bebe ye na e de na exercise yen so oman the two trust yes this is time to think about ourselves
time I can say USA no my member era mama abaso o sa USA da send na me bompa say my uncle pacho da me ma Africa ni bia uncle pa America cho so be boyen bio Unim when time ye nya e fa hundi no unya political independence we the next one economic independence.
That's the more important
enra echire kura echire na osagifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah echire ohuma bi ka kire say the neo-colonialism obeba biom na oba no sesi a onfa tuo ni agyan embesi wuso na adwadie mu na odi besi wuso enti si a wa kan yi obakọ akodidi nti no yesi ochina oba menhye mpaboa obakọ ho akodidi nti no yesi ochina mo oba mamu nhye atade na wonum gu ase na eba no enu nti sa tariff na sa USA no yiye no wa na ira mama kan say finance minister anhwemu na obeka so na Ghana beyond aid vision no sa vision eye minya be maka say agriculture na ma ye kan yi si ebe ye agriculture na ye de age ye ho no that economic independence a friend economic nationalism drive say obeka say wow na Africa no yada che sa esu we kan yesi esu kura efa USA ye de wi no odi tariff 10% onye 90% me pese sa edu be bia wo eagle aboa okorie unim si o kire ne ba si ayetu odu be bia odu ko wi anim we jano wo it gets to a time we have to go through brimstone fire. When after corona yare we when they tell you that misfortunes are blessings. Corona no nyame e de dore e be kire ye nyanse bi se yen ka se debi no
ba yen sio
che ka yesio bi fi corona mu a corona e nshira papa yesio bi fi mu ke bo se ochina sa wadan fo no obetie mu kra no wada obeyi nani enti sa ade no ke esua bibi firi mu a tade fi a wo kan yi unim it's sacrosanct it's important oye ne ebe ba America ejina tie mi nyo be makan oye aboa America
so it's American first
unim say Nigeria Ghana ni efi Ghana ha eluzi parliament ona bo odum owie no ko boa Nigeria fo na omo de to akese to emu eso and oboa omo mu dua emu and they got that freedom. And then Ghana ni oboa Liberia. So yen pay ye de say ya bo say ye de say minim say obi na edomo ye and oboa ye dua wo and osansu di tie so nti ye de ete ha
so pani awo kan
at the fee 3 houses away from my house
before time
school feeding
yes oba adwo de buy no ye frustrating na no ja no ko now one interesting thing last year ho baby sorry. And one of these companies, I think say Zoom line you said, almost say, almost be doing more. Consultants are a baby casa or you made in Arsenal. They're Nigeria for.
Sir, Ghana ni no ko boa Nigeria for no. E mo nyo fa wo die fie mo egane mu no. Ghana ni de ye hunu. E ma Liberia man pay mo phone so you program e kire. O send me pictures. O twe me ne enkoye. Miss Honorable Odum. Ghana ni o, ye hwe Ghana ni no. E mo akoboa Nigeria. Emo mu ede sa tariff ye enti ya adepa ye bisa anka ye poetry na egu papa bi de bia me kan no na me national student leader Nooks no obefre na ye adwi mu ndo ye enti ase na obefre ni ye tena ase say we should do activism near from protecting poultry products. Regina Tete, may so rest in peace. Otwa ne ho fa Ghana ha nyina say poultry e be di edem and e di edem $300 million e bro so na udiko yi nkokọ nam eba ebewe wo krum ha wo hie ni no ko touch ni ho ekokwa nti wire ne sa no yeso yemfa ebintu emo no so se Nigeria ayeye no akomende ebedi wo ekomene wo sha ase ebi bedi wo pa say di we say corona kire obibi say ebedu mrebre wanye a there will be another one so akwa say chacha wo sha ase wo table no so a wo be ko super bet edidi ubo jam de oboka aviator ene dem hu yem twa me ene de shamba ko e ho de edu no o say shamba ko o de to so 10% se mu be wu o se mu be perepere ene fa no o de ato wo so fa bi to so na o yesa na boaboa Ghana fo na no na omu yesa production na mane nkoso na eto ne de o no the tariff ato so e de boa ne nkrofo de krom wo so fa o de ato so na fa boa nkrofo o krom fefe akuku da mefo no mu ye agriculture niama no no mu fa nye no mu fa mwa he ade ba kwa minya be ma esan kan ya me pese ye fa o kakra na ye hwe about tax exemptions eto o fa che no be bia o ka fa ye no offer me dem pese ma yenka ne yie obi ba Ghana ha niam me senti na oba Ghana ha wi ase afa na nya nipa no free space crap no ba ni diem niam me senti na oba our security is first obi enko di dwa o Ukraine me ma osika sisi akuse ko big factory o ba ko bi o Ukraine ne to pa ne papa o company no enu ya 1 2 labor sisi am nya kai cheap labor obeba na free zones ni am na wa be edwuma mom enu cheap labor nti no mo ba and the last one which is the most important one is the quality of your minerals what the Ghana gold to another Liberia gold to
difference room
yeah the net shine and anything that wa ba ha no wa ma ase e fe o Agya Kwabena e fe me Jeff and e fe we Madilo nti dai oba so be saw gold nako na otu gold na oni say na say sa ade bia o ka say kan yemfa gold no ho royalties no yemfa nko 10% no na say o mo ka so mo de efi 1% they got 3% no Ghana fo tuntum Ghana ni ejina ho sa meet me pie Agya Kwabena pin fo me pese mama no ba kotom nti me pie say obi etimi na adwi mu Tanzania etimi ka say wo betu ni ho de a
50-50
na Ghana ti ha me de ekwa 51% ko 3% pe no ngofo gina wo say say ye na sa ngofo mo betu no mo diska kese na ba uni bibi ansa na yekosu economics o say Adam Smith de na ye Scotland de unim Ghana ha de no Canada e de bia America Canada nti ubo se Ghana ni bi abaginem say oh we yesa omuntu omunko eye den na men's gold etimi begina o da Ghana for the musika ba na ban timi nka so be Ghana gold company na ka me Mrs. de bia o be sha ase bia me 100,000 di be shem Ghana for wo bi 10 cities 500,000 o me di be shem sa ye pudo na Ghana nya ne company ada na company kitwa ase me betu gold wa no this ka pudo yin free hako transfer price na me nya na ka no won say wo company a we nsuo na o ya apri wo ba ha wo be di nsuo hu dwa wa ha na ni company we a oye sa drink we e wa amano ne ami chim kakra oba sa company we ni be ton bottles we e to ana ma so oye o factory e to ano no abeton cha to we bia ma we mu ha nti sa nsuo no mo sa wo ha no o de begu sa to we mu no no aton bottle we ama no 10 cedis wo bra rasa fe na nya ton sa bottle to we 6 cedis sa 4 cedis obetwa fam nti oba beton ma ono ani nya company no Ghana 10 cedis na wa twi 4 cedis na fam eno kra nkosi ho ye oni ma bi refer say wo awunim smuggling in the year 2018 Ghana gold fee ya UAE for book mu no na de fee ya ko UAE no o ma tro 7 billion enso na ye hu mu ha no na 2 billion
5 billion na share go
eno ye de fa akra ma hu ye na obi so ye friend we say re-entry Kwabena bi gina nra no mu Ghana Togo nra no mu ho no enchen de no o twen ye tu gold no wa ha no de dwane because ye 100 meters race no de ra Togo no mo san de abefa border no san de ra Ghana biom and the ECOWAS protocol no ye to no hu ni ama bi a tetete so no mo san de abe sa re-entry no na ate so ama no mo de abefem Ghana fo na abi enti sa edem na ye di ye ho no na sa royalties de ma okay wo ye le ni ama no me edu bebi a se me ho kirem sa na me se unim gold no e wa sa asiri mu enya ne nko bebi a se ke ye nya Ghana company kese na enya fa sika engum na local participation na enya ne yie na enya yie dia enya nguo obi we dey say gold wo voterage
pa
we dey say wo ye keta basin no ye ntu ye wewu anope wuni di o chira wuntu ya odanka
metua
tie ayedu bebi a niama ni bia ye bom bi se tourism mi se de bia Agya Kwabena mi ye metutu mi ne se ka dia na wo twa gu ho na wo se wo pe gold no enche ho no obi ba be hwe dua no oba be hwe dua na hwe nsuo wo nsuo na ye tutu bu gold sisi ya no ka nsuo no tama na mene wo ye to ahoma no fem na ye chinam no won sa calendars na ya wo hu na obi chinam no ye ba be twa wo a wo chinam ye da ko calendar o twa no ye giniska wo ba tama mama no uchinam no wie no wo betutu bi no ato bi ama no ni sika o wie a no asa cha obi kakra enu ne tourism corona ba ye kan Egypt mu akọ hwe ase ade ti tourism obi beba abehwe se slave ye di budem njo behwe sa osuka ase no wo hwe wie a no amoska wonim emwa na egu mole na nya na ode omgugu o elephant no enye wo dia emwa no wo mbebi e wo nwurem o obi boni behwe no amoska kobra ne se ono de onti ase obetwa dua no etu gold kokofuo no no etu ase nje sia wo se wo economy ne kosoro but gold na wo tu no na edi udem ye beko ye nima we have to do some of this adika ka mpese mi kire wo exercise ade taxes aye kan ye no enye se dem bi na pese edi companies no ba ye ko ye nim no bo se chichiri insan ye num femu a obi wa onim num mienu miensa no akono 50 15 20 de bia no twegum sa ehun yare wa no ya da NCDs ne ba ne ho chichire no ubeko NHI scheme na se no cancer ne sa syphilis ba ku mo friend say dialysis kidney ukoshe dialysis treatment in kwa po a ye share bo no ye ntimi anya because ehun ka esu ye ko ye nimu wo gi sa sika nya ekogu exercise futu no ma say wo di sa sika no ye maxam na non communicable diseases na de achia no woni say wo papa ye ne nsa fefefe we kobra ne so tumi ko share dan na chi etimi ye paper we bi eye insuo bi e kala ni say sichire nkwa no so wa special we say obi twafam enti sa sika ni bia so ye gia obetimi di ama custom division for ni bia ni FDA for no mde akọ 1990 ase aye mpesemu bo se kobra ne hye kona bi ade we obetwa bi afem nti sa monitoring and regulating no eno so e wo ho a ye gi sa sika ni bia e be akoye na o hwe ade ba ko so about tax we say illicit economy no obi wo ho a ye ekoni say no secret no ono on top papa ne beton o Ghana da o call north ho investigation bi a research with valve niam epie mu kire se sa secret ni bi mu ba o hwe din ni krapa ye ntro din ni o hwe din ni krapa ye na eto no aye gigi mu bisa se ebe de ne akoye nim transparency and accountability unim se mi nua be ma ka about we say na make say adenti na nipa ekọ asori a oyi tight ya ye say onyame ho do na oyi bebre why people paying tithes and they cringe when they have to pay taxes esa say ye wie kofi ni ama wa asori mu what you say Monday for am 1000 and na Tuesday for am 300 eso ye ba say ye be kan eto wan sema na wo beti say $12 million akotu invisible dam now you say Satan say ye ade ba kwa yen kan any the uncapping of the get fund and the uncapping of the NHI is sacrosanct ya sia fa na nyina wo ye o budget mu nyama no wo hu nyama bia eto sinipa nti wo be so this can ko ye immediate something get fund dey say infrastructure akwara de ne yem esi form na o tro ade testing ha desk pictures are Africa education work me ko moderation me hu pictures no nko for 380 desk so na o be da atro desk da ni na nkola 380 so na mo akire mo me da atro na tashi ni o
na fanchere
ba na final ameka tax communication nyame na obo ye nkra apo o de kasa otimi bisa ne nkrofo Moses mi be ye say we say Elijah munye ni say na o de o be jimi sika na wa be dan nyame me si wa jimi to one you no me ni won kwase me bisa question say o ofa say sika ndi agege na mo cars na mo to no minister ba ko kra we esanso kra we na aka mu teso a hey debi unu ho no expert what you say tobo ye na ewo mu nyansa na ye ka
me da se we de me my tax no mu nsem no bebre se na be ya ye betumi ehunu niam bi na madi logo so mama be some 2-3 minutes bi na ye hwe ade ba ko a o kan se kan ye se ebrasa extractive levy no more call from 1% to 3% no ebinom ka say terms Ghana investment promotion there be AGI can ho asam say it's too much na say na there was some kind of protest within the money. I can say in authority say some corporate tax oil company so tia billions of dollars in the Ghana GRE board asem o mka che mampani o mampenda da Akufo-Addo ene say ye tata wo mo a si agye sika jedi kan IMF emfa yesika no ema yen bi se na ekokogye no nti I say multinational company wo mamu na tata no nti on twen na IMF yesika no nti ben yen tata wo mu that is what advice of the man no IMF for the yesika ma ye sese sankogye yesika no ena asem omo san ka bio ne se ekokoye ne saa ebema upstream one more bed to me, yes, a cabin to go, a oil, no, and I say for no, one more back, until Ebema oil, no, someone are topping your money. It was like Ghana and they took Ghana man penny for Sadi and who no one say, Joacano, and you're correct. Madilo, and then I'll get this as a on man for. I come here say, on man who do Ira, you know man who do you. Would you say about for a bay? And then as a way, said the bay. Sa board chairman for na board for the revenue institutions ahodo na no I bet the writing listen so kwasi broni nim say maminka one day we say most of them no are finished products no modeba omo manufacture na man Ghana
some even change company name change
so enti then necessary omo ye say the be ya ho no edidwa ha no ebe hu se Ghana sementu ato a asamato mi okwa brechire na so otifie mbu na who dare you say wuntu ato nti ono so hu ne se sa loophole na wo ba bi na otumi di adwuma no ye si sa loophole na ana so oye na dwen so de be fa ho a na so be ehia wonyini so be twa na de ne sa ban na ye sa bre de etumi di sa de ha na no
first and foremost tax regime, you know, across border.
Yeah.
We say we are lacking a few fundamentals. One is our laws are too rigid. It's not as if it's not a good law. It's a good law, but it's a bit rigid. Sometimes you stay in your office. GRA staff walks into your office, want to see your books. By what standard? You know, and it's not. They are not there because they are doing their normal monitoring. Maybe they saw on the dashboard say they have paid you what's the name, withholding tax of a certain amount. Then immediately you have become a target. They run into your office. How much did you make from the business? How much did you pay and all that? That's not, for me. It's a lazy work of tax, administration. Why? One of the characteristics of a good tax law is that it must have ease of payment of the tax liabilities. Say, I owe you, but create an avenue where I can pay my tax very easily. And I say I owe you, then I have to travel all the way to Aflau or Kumasi in order to be able to pay my tax liabilities. So one of the things we need to do is to review our tax laws to the extent that it makes it comfortable, makes it simple, it makes it accessible. And tax enforcement agencies, they say officials of GRA, they don't show up in the name of I am the boss. You have to pay and nothing else. That's one. Number two, tax exemptions in this country is a problem.
One of the biggest problems.
2 years ago, total tax exemptions was about 5 billion. Now, IMF gave to us
3 billion.
3 billion. Now, in 1 year, exemptions alone is 5 billion. 5 billion. When? How? Number two, he talks about the uncapping of the GET fund and then the Digital Assembly Common Fund. I feel it's a very good project. Now, good because for GET fund, any Digital Assembly Common Fund, they are monies that are targeted to be used for a certain project and development. Who cap here or you put a cap on it, that means that you are saying, whether I like it or not, I'm giving you 2 billion every year, and whatever you do with it is not my business. And we are growing as a country. The needs are growing. Our opportunities to take advantage of are growing. So you go to many of the schools, many of the secondary schools, you see that the kids have to go two streams are in school, another stream is in the house. First years are in school, second years are in school, the other one is in the house and all that. Then it doesn't allow for the entire development of the society of this country or the entire development of the child, because we are missing out a lot. when we were growing up, no, boarding house was one of the opportunities to unite, to get to know each other, because sometimes you will see that somebody is a Muslim, another is a Christian, another doesn't believe in anything, but we managed to find ourselves and our feet and going. Quality of education was improved, access was improved, mobility was also improved. And we need that kind of leadership that will allow us to explore all the opportunities available when it comes to tax administration. Number three, e-levy. When it was introduced, we all know, say, at the end of the day, it contributed only 1% to our tax revenue in a year, which is 129 million. 129 million is no money. And that was a disincentive to what we call financial inclusion. Number one. Two is cashless economy. And I was so disappointed, say, in the last government, whilst they were preaching cashless economy, there were implementation issues that brought about the limitations to cashless economy. For instance, if I have to send money to him, and it was introduced at 1.75%, later reviewed to 1.5, and then eventually to 1, because now it wasn't achieving the target almost set for themselves, and it was a bit ambitious target. Now government was thinking of making about 6.9 billion in a year. 11 billion. Then it reviewed to 6.9 billion. Eventually, we couldn't make that money. And see, I feel, say, as a country, we need to go back to the basics. We are beginning to think very loud, very big, very ambitious when the basics are lost on us. Once we can put together that basic infrastructure that allow us to grow this economy, we will be on a path to greater prosperity. Number three, if you ask me today, I think that John Mahama is on a good course. My fear is that we should be able to get the buy-in of all the arms of government. Legislature say, judiciary say, a few days ago now, a court has actually ruled in favor of a galamsey, a place where rivers were polluted. The judge can see for yourself. You can argue, say, technicalities or processes as filed or the evidence before her suggests that she should allow the guy to go free. But where did we lose our conscience? I know sometimes you go to court and judges are able to direct lawyers and say, listen, the area you are going to, you may lose the case because you are not adducing evidence that, would make me to take a favorable ruling in your favor. National interest should be our goal. We are judge, we are driver new, we are plumber, and I say we are teacher. At the end of the day, the national picture, the national goal, the development of this country should be all of us our lookout for. And that's where I think that we are missing it. We're in a hurry to develop, but we are not in a hurry to fix the basics of this country. And the kind of projects we do in this country too is a problem. And until our growth have slowed down. Because if you carry money, you borrow money from the IMF, you need to pay salaries. You haven't done anything. It's money down the drain. But you give me money, and I use the money to go and set up a business, like the port and harbors, like the airport, like you build hospitals, and people are able to go to such hospitals. People are going to go to the port. They're able to clear their goods. It is money on itself. And to make me, I use SARS cannot make generative from the investment. I can take that money and then pay back your loan without it sitting on my books. But some of them are going to consumption. Some are going to frivolous expenditure. Some are just going for budgetary support. And when you say budget support, it's all about salaries. You can pay. And that's why we went through that crude moment of a haircut, right? The DDP structure. Because we are spending more than we are bringing in. At what point? And I'm very happy that your mama has been able to cut off some frivolous expenditures, like the number of ministers we've had and all that. Chairman, it takes about minimum 5 million to maintain one minister in a year. 5 million Ghana cedis to maintain a minister in a year. 5 million Ghana cedis. One, Sir Minister, no, Ubeto V8 Lankusha. V8 Lankusha, $125,000. $100,000 is 1.5 million. 100,000 is 1.5 million Ghana cedis today. For the V8, And as RBH, you know, after 3 years, they have to change it. They would say what's the name? Depreciation. And the depreciation of such, you know, cars is 25% flat. And after 4 years, the car is 0.
Car now going Pontifi America, but Udemana
V8 no
3 years pay the it be man fella.
After that, he deserves a housemaid, he deserves a driver, he deserves a security.
But a saloon car too.
Yes, and a saloon car. And what jobs are they doing? For instance, minister to say sanitation minister say I don't think so we need a ministry for it. Because all the places that need to be cleaned are in the various districts, municipal assemblies and metropolitan assemblies. What is the role of the regional minister and the district assemblies?
MCs.
So we need that basic. We need to fix our basic issues. We're looking far beyond the basic issues, and it's causing problems. And I think that with time we can reshape this country properly.
All right.
And the reset agenda can take off.
What
Jaka me 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Only yeah, no. And yeah, because you beka you say play bi abegina okutuka. Niama wom na ehun sama ebdeja na fe ya hwe yicg ekebusa yira ye so ye de kakra wuro ne ya ka galamse ho asam so kakra san ya sore.
Ejama me mbo media no tofa kitwa bi. I think say in common in na ye di no niama kakra bi o ha misusu say ye di twato. We are see already world trade is changing in our own eyes. After Second World War, US and IET, World Bank, IMF, those institutions. One of the key we are seeing already, which was WTO, and a honor tariffs and something in our started. America is some rano by its act in front of us. And the US they tour atu obia or nini dijaso. What does it mean for Yema in the next 10 years? What would it mean for global trade? Me Susan Penny for this is the time I said you pay or more to me drain shade and nimu ne share chiri because senior near nimbu see a no as a son. Nanisisa muno in praying no a camera is a nationalism na edikan so or might be a shane dear a edikan no ene dikan Ghana niema miensa misusu say ye aban we mfansi na nim de dikan sebi aduane aye didie minimi ne o kan say ya adwen eni kan say fa $300 million ekoto number we wo krom ha that 300 million no $300 million akuafo moye portrait could have actually earned intisika bia ye bebo say ye de koto Ntos, ewo Burkina, ya de koto Jenny from Algeria, ya de koto mango from Ivory Coast. Ni nyina no sika nka ye betimi e de amakua ni bia oye adwuma wa ha.
I portrait there wo kan kura no $350 million yi. Ye de $100 million kwa de makua fo ya.
Ebebo
mutumi nya na kokko nya kokko ma ye ma na mmoro so. Enya ye kusha ma na mmoro so.
Medase. Nti de dika America ni say sa aban we aban etwa mu eye de obetimi anjina but de dikan say aban we anya hwe ma na anya ye wate agric and something as part of the trade Minister of Trade or the agri business ne aka ho empire ne ebo say sebi omo behu de omo ye na anya bia na aduane aye bedidie ne nkra no so bete pa de dikan the atosumienu enyinam sem ne ahoden because eno na ye bibia sebi kane ani ha nkomo we ye ntimi ndi inti energy ECG ne ho nkomo no say ye beton say ye nton ye beton ne say ne ye be no I think that energy is a very important conversation beja Africa 53 countries assign krata say be didwa abom na ye yankasa ye be ho adwuma headquarters e wo Ghana eyen koma misusu say yatoto nase ache ho mfaso de no bro senia nipa bebre asusu ho ahwe senka ye nyina edi dwabo ma se bi o de bia me ka se me book a me twere ya ma ntimi anton yi ka me sese book a mu ana mafa me tena me ka mu na matwi efri nkran akọ Togo na maye seminar kakra bi na maton bi na makọ Nigeria na makọ Senegal
Lagos nko
ntinka sa book na ma ntimi anton Ghana no ke bi anka meton 10,000 sa 10,000 e be create adwuma bebre nti ye nyina no headquarters wo Ghana ye ma ye ninko ye yanka za Africa adwadie ho because the percentage is just about 11%, one of the lowest intra-regional trade globally. Inti yama ya ninko se ni ya ankasa ye di ho nkomo. Ye twa to Jamaica SOEs. Sebio this regime shouldn't be baby SOEs. Sika to kakra na yetua no. Ye pekwan ya bejeje to no. Ejuma kwa aban no wo a wo se sebio mo na nka enye sika beka ho no. Omumom so abeya siphoning benches.
Obeya adeso.
Omo abeya adeso. Ejuma kuo na e so omo ye ejuma e de beto ebeboa ye no. Omumom nye ejuma no ene na ye ya apeteshe boka. Ye ya apeteshe boka. Ye de cylinder boka. Ye ton so with monopoly boka. Ye ECG monopoly. It doesn't make sense one bit. And Inti SOEs no eja the regime should make sure say ye ka ejuma aban wo nyuma onye ne te say private sector the same GCB dey tell GCB ni Africa fa na nyina na private
ye hotel so na ye
ni aban nyuma no sabio wa appoint party ni die nanso party ni no enye party sem ne dey business. It is the time to run businesses as businesses of the state. Na ye me ninko sebio sebi asantefo eti mfa ncheme ye nyina ye nim se me na me ma me fi asante achemeduana abusiam o meka jo se kwamitua omusi tuati ana broniate me na nata ka se ye haw ni nyina ye nyina akoyese kwamitua no ye kan ye ho ben ye ho sa asantefo ba ye beti akoka akoye ye ho nti ye me hunu se oman no enagede bia wo show we aka ya na be chichire ye man nti ye hunu ne se enye se bio se ya nkasa edi ye ho dem ni afofo aye baako na because importers na woska because se ya ntimi anya adwuma no wa ha na ye kokraba ode ne mfa so hu beto so nti se ye be ye portrait no wa ha de a di okra portrait ne ba no obey se portrait na ye no wa ha ne nkoso because ono no mfa so wo so I was saying nyina ye gina hu se ye no wa ha na portrait ni ye wa ha ni okokra ba no ubetimi a organize omo ye no anya sanfa so na wa ha nti ye ma ye nye ho sebi tia ye say ye man nemum ye me ani nku hu na ye de beboa ye man.
Okay, me dan se papa ya osompa so na ode ne de se na de to ho sam ne akapa menim se ye kan ye nyina ehwa bi kakrakra
just to onya asembod
aha anti tax me ka to ana nye ehwa da wo
ja tax na make
tax ne aha
tax
ochira ko bia wo ka se me ka be ya ka
even you are
se pa so we to tax ho asem na o ka bi se to aha ka bi na ka ne to na ho asem ne ye hwa madilo e ba ne sen na ayi Mami yenfa ECG de no ho. Me de menti asio. Se container mako. Anye se bia special IC kwa bitumi afanam de se botomako. So far how far? Ye yira ye no. Ye se akoche si ba ko bi A+ the constituency for example. Something west Goma west yes e ko hu bi wo ho na ya chichi ni pa bi ni de ko ba I mean they
as for sir operations ni say no because sir we are on a manhunt for what happened. First of all, ECG Angasa is a crime scene. But we say in the budget, for instance, ECG they owe 68 billion. 68 billion.
And they count there.
The entire country's debt is how much? 741 billion from independence. 741 billion. And so you are talking about all the other sectors of the economy put together. 741 billion. And one entity. And one crown, ECG is 68 billion.
That's almost 10%.
68 billion. And ECG is a crime scene. Beyond SAR containers, is the fact that ECG itself has to be investigated. That's number one. Oh, if you go to many of the ECG outlets, their distribution centers, or where they have those transformers, there's a lot of waste in the compound. You see, cables be break, they are wasting away. You say containers be break, they are wasting away. When you say ECG, part of those containers, containers, about half of them will expire in some 2-3 years.
Aye.
On my importer for things that they need maybe in the next 5 years, and you have brought it today.
Idea be about 5 years.
5 years that you will need no.
Listen,
our budget for import was about 1.6 billion for the year 2023 or 2024. When you say out of this 1.6 billion, ECG are spending 8 billion over expenditure of the budget created for that year.
Say last year, if I say 2023.
2023.
Yeah, I can say Niama betu nyina no.
1.6 billion. But end of year,
we are saying na ya to Niama 8 billion.
8 billion.
Mebo, bentiasi.
You dey beti me ama
say me ye tena say no as adwumakuo no ye hun say afi be wuru afi e wo mu sika ye hia de beto to niema no 1.6 billion and ya te ase
plan for it
ya plan ya wi afeko wi ase no ye di 8 billion na kokoto and 2 billion
no 8 billion in fact 8.4 billion or 8.6 billion. And I mean say a hono is a crime scene. The big Mahama who say or kasa bebre from one radio station to the other. He should take his time. Don't worry. The fire will catch him soon. The fire. What made him to resign? He has not been able to tell us the reason why he resigned. He just resigned quietly. All the issues that happened for him to have resigned, they are coming up gradually. And we don't have to even be in a hurry of these containers. It's a small matter. Containers, the money spent on them is about 1.5 billion. And yes, compared to the debt, they have accrued for themselves. And a lot of things are coming up. When they went to the baby, containers, 40 containers, Omuka said they bought it last year from ECG. And nobody should tell us it is stolen. No. It may be missing, but somebody sold it. It's not like it vanished. Somebody categorically made a transaction and sold them. Now, number two, SAR containers, 40-footer container. If you buy a 40-footer container of ECG equipment, usually transformers and our cables. We have transformers that are expensive at $500,000. One, but I could say, especially the substations. We have transformers that are going for $5 million. Even the small ones that you see by houses, the minimum you get is about $50,000. And it's cheap money like that for containers. They go and buy the container, and this is the deal. They go buy the container for $500,000 abroad. Maybe a Turkey, India, UK. Those are, and then Israel. That's where they buy their containers from, because those are the countries with good electrical foundation. And it's cheaper than the US. So they go there to buy. The entire cost of the container is $500,000. Now, ECG will bring the containers to Ghana. and they will allow it to go into demurrage.
Every $500,000 I got on.
Correct. Now they will go and look for my brother. Say, brah, ejuma be ho. Ebema ojuma, and I say ebema Oscar. Oba, they will sell it to him for 100,000 Ghana cedis on auction.
Which is a GRA.
Are they $500,000?
Yes.
Next, Mama demolish your channel.
Correct.
They at one will be 100,000
Ghana cedis. Now, Nipano, idea container is for ECG until you can't use it. It's of no use to you. Only ECG bet and one bet me you should content of the container. Now, Sa Nipano what on for 100,000. Onwa will come back to ECG say me wo cables, me wo transformers. This is what they said they want it until they will ask for it. He will sell it to them for $300,000. This is the scandal we are in. This is the main issue. It's not even the container. Container will track them because they have serial numbers, the process of exit of the port. They have even trackers on them, and they will get it. But Adi Niha Kosu before even those containers got missing is what I'm telling you. They sell it on auction for 100,000. The same person will bring it to ECG and say, I have meters, I have transformers, I have this and that. And you see, there are a lot of private businesses that have warehouses that have ECG stuff in them. Go to Tema around those places, you will see a lot of them in open. And they will tell you, say, oh, me a ECG contractor, me a ECG dead. Many of them have to be investigated because they are actually the ones who bring it back to ECG to come and to be sold. Also, for the 8 years that MPP was in government, they couldn't do the rural electrification project because of some of these things. Some of the poles that they imported, some of the cables that they imported, some of the transformers that they imported went to private hands. And there are major electrical companies in this country that are selling products that were meant for ECG to the public. And to ECG, there is a crime scene. It's something that will take a holistic approach. So sometimes we even say, oh, ECG is making losses, it's not even the losses. The losses are minimal. It is actually the drain, the expenditure drain on their books. That's where the challenge is coming from. The same ECG. You see, they are not able to pay the independent power producers and all that, and all the power producers until government. And that one we have to applaud the MPP government for it. That they brought together a scheme called the cash waterfall mechanism. It's very simple. It says Susu box. Revenue and at the end of the month, no. Now all the other people who have contributed for the power that we have distributed until maybe you contributed 20%, and no 40%, or no 10%. Now we share it according to that ratio. When you say a company now or just on behalf of government, back time I say you are coming to share the money. That company is paid first. Even higher than Bui Power Authority, who is producing the power. That company is paid first, higher than what a power producer, like maybe Sona Sogli or Bui Power is producing. They are even the ones who get paid last. So sometimes they create a lot of riot and say they won't produce. Sometimes they say they don't have the power. It's only at that point that government quickly rushed to find money to pay them so that they can produce the power. Because if you are not able to produce power, what do you mean distribute it? There are three chains in the electricity lane. One is the production, which is the generation, which is the ones like VRA, Bui Power, Sona Sogli, TP, Car Power, Ameri, Omunina are generation, based companies. After that, no, generating power anywhere. Government has a system to collect all into one basket, which is Gridco. And the Gridco is a monopoly. So Gridco takes all the power that is produced from all the other agencies into one bucket. Then decide that, okay, I'm giving it to ECG. Now, ECG is the one that does what we call the distribution. So we have generation, we have transmission. The transmission is done by Gridco. Then the distribution is done by ECG and NEDCO. In the northern sector we have NEDCO, then the downstream we have the ECG. Just distribute. I have produced, I have brought it to you, distribute, give meters to people, put street light on their streets. Only say, growing up, we have been paying ECG street light levy before I was born. who's ECG bill no, so blue one no. But say there is always a levy, street light levy. Now who was street light or baby out?
And the pay come can once.
We have been paying since. Where do those monies go to? Where do they go to? Today, if you buy prepaid for your meter right now, you will see that if you bought 200 Ghana cedis, what will reflect will be about 180 something Ghana cedis. Got 15% or so goes out to the companies that are the platform now.
We will use the atom.
Where? What is all this? And I own him. Any nation that toys with its power sector have problems. Because almost all the agencies are ever gonna have, all the factories are ever gonna have, they all rely on power. A stable electricity supply will guarantee growth in your in your factories or your industrialization growth. Few years ago, the past government says they had excess capacity. Do you know what excess capacity means? If it was in the US, for them, it's a blessing. Because it's an opportunity to make more revenue from your neighboring countries. Export to them. Togo doesn't have light. Give it to them, let them pay you cash. And you will take it in foreign exchange. Benin doesn't have, give it to them. Nigeria, you know the problem with Nigeria. Ghana can decide, say, we are going to supply Nigeria with power. Because Nigeria's biggest problem is power. And we will transport power from Ghana. Now from Ghana to Nigeria is how many hours? Well, how many kilometers? About 218 kilometers. From Ghana, from Ghana to the border of Nigeria, 280 or so kilometers. We're able to transport power from here to north, over 900 kilometers. You cannot transport from here to Nigeria. We cash, cash to support your economy. And we have a fundamental problem in this country. ECG should have been a shining example of how well to run an economy, but they have failed this country woefully. Who can say during Jomama's other term, this power crisis affected the economy so badly. That's the extent to which, when you don't manage your power sector, you don't pay attention to it. So, and if we don't resolve this ECG crisis, we are likely to go into some of these things again. So I am happy that the president himself, his attorney general, all the other agencies that are investigating this matter are putting their feet on the floor and making sure that these things are resolved and resolved well.
Prince Sobekaya, I think about a year or 2 years ago, I beto just in some the China 4B a year that is saying I want some factory be. Omuko hu yedi eni Sofia. Omuko hu electricity cable ibia e wo adak box mu wire akase ni bia omde high tension no e wo box mu a bebre e wo ho na ti say from ECG and now they want to amasa company now omde that the say e China company omde that the say no na say ya de see yesi asan kokochi nipa bi a warehouse ba ko bi e Indian ni warehouse nipa bi achi wo so a ebi wo ho a ya nane na ne cables bi na asefo no so e China fo
ya no ano aye no no ano aye
I sometimes bit wa na me nimbe bia ye Ghana fo bi no mu adwen no e wo then this is yes as we but then this is
yeah menu na kan some ne bebre and I think the matter wa me ne ya adwen on most of them it may insan kan dia waka no because but ECG asem ne ya sebio am kania o monopoly there ye nton moka because there nkadia wo ye no I was a wunya because obi anton bi nkan ho no any class of boka but yenim say yes ye generator even production no about 30 something % loss but some of the losses and I mean in terms of the expenditure drain and now ECG fa say be enya kapa and now say nye ne nyama enam na kwan so I think the also quite many befa so question no potting is a quite many befa so I be deal with. The kind no ye hunu ne say de ye hunu wo ECG say ebia ye man ni da on ye Ghana water ebia ye be hu bibia ye similar sa ebia nye the same thing but something similar say ebia ye hwem ni ye hwe cocoa border ye be hu something similar ye hwem ni ye hwe gehoga ebia ye be hu something similar nti de di kan ye hunu ne say adesua dia ye be hu wo sa scandal we bia no reforms no should be holistic and I say de be sua fi ma de be hihye mra ne de be hihye aginatu bia no I was say aginatu a enye ade a be ya adwuma o ECG nko a but e be ya ade a e ya ba nyuma e fo nyina and I say all the SOEs will be bound by it into the di kind no. But over the dynamics of ECG asemna, and I think say I agree with him on the dynamics. ECG beko akokra niama ba. Okokra ba obeka se oniska ye de ono akokra niama na oniska ye de free port. Na demurrage achi no. Na GRA auction. No bi sebi me de from a layman's point of view no would appear say obi a sebi obeben sa scheme na akoto either so the be na the same and so the be iron rods and obeba ECG ho no akoka say meton way but invariably yeah the ECG say ade no bo ade nti omo de no munim no afa ECG so na ekra aluminium and say sa raw material naba on the national pairs it's the ECG and the betu ahoka but the obeba be use a private person inti say ebia me that the same and am iron rods minti kan wosro samia me ko import ba e wosro nti me no obi be hihya won na ECG akokra ba na ECG kraba say ye nyina ya kana 90 ye be mate say the formal ECG I listened to him, Mr. Dubek Mahama. Wakani yama mienu, o say enya de say sa nyamanayra is either misplaced and I say a auction. But ohe ni mienu nyina na say be misplaced they not as a abia they also ebusa your Ministry of Transport because a GHPA Ghana Port and Harbour Authority. Inti omo ye won sem busa omo no Mahu Krata be from National Security to Ghana Port. I think it's dated on the 7th of March or so. Ebusa for help to evacuate some things to a National Security warehouse in Abelempe. Eja yen to yabo enhwehwe nsem I listened to the minister wasi gina yese obe enhwehwe mu akosi ase ame nyina yate ase ade port ekoso. But whatever the nature of the investigation, kwaya ehwehwemu be fa so akobia de nyina enim ni se sebi bibi ntwayi because say ete bia no nothing explains for over 1,300 containers. Na sebi say na udi kaka no but we kra mira na mefa saying na port mu a nye container baako enye container oha enye container aduonum apim any chiripo or hamiensa and something doesn't add up. Indeed, the engine I also wouldn't say they're important in their coso. And I think both the whether it was sold in a prior government, whether part of it was sold in this government, whatever it is, we need to get to the bottom of it. I hope say you're political football, and for me that's my fear. Miss Ronnie say ye be na MPP NDC sem no na asempoti na ye wo ho no
ese kan no na kan
se akoye MPP ni NDC sem di NDC for beka say oh mo braso na eton we NDC beka say MPP so beka say mo braso ya ton we national security for na koyi na ya na wetre na ye wansam empire na mebo say ye be yi party sem na fim na ye hunu ne say boni na akoso o minor japade taxes are ye kan ye kan ho asem no yen yinu ni gibre no ebi ena ye de kra niamama ECG na ECG ba ya akodi afoforo nsem no. So I think that the public interest, we are all interested in seeing say Hefa na beko akodru. Na say won Hefa, ye pese hu report ebeba. Ye pese hu recommendations ebeba wo ho. Ye nyina me ani ni eche na eja nsentwefo ye besre mo. Mammo man nyese na awtwe mienu bi asem beba na asem foforo aba. Na ye me ani ni asem we echi. Na ye hunu enkosi ase na report ebeba ne reforms ebeba no. Ye gina so dia asesa adwuma foforo. But as FM and I think say Ghana ni babia ehu ade we a from baby no ensheda nye nwanwa because I think say nyina nim say side dream ne katase e koso wo mami bebre. I think say dia here nwanwa say ne the extent say na 1,003 containers there nya asem kuma you know nti yenhunu ne say this will be a basis ye de be si sa keta ahye na se ene proye na ekoso nya isiji nko a e wo baby fa baby bebre no ye be gina we so amana be a siga directive omo de be hye enyuma eko ni nyina amayate and SOEs medical aka ho asem I think is one of the banes of our problem yetimi solve SOEs problem now. It will be one of the biggest legacy I think this government can leave. So mutimi solving here.
Okay, me that's it. We say unu no maka bia na ye hwe se okan ye no enye honko a minimum say eba ne say ya obia na baby for kwan bi so say na be ya me use word be the other time say this time around the international kase bia sa scratch your back scratch my back or sa scratch your back scratch my back ade no say said an anopaya and sana na djubetumi aye enti say aban yi wan hwanye ho bibi tsunami na efa obi bribi abese ko that same tsunami betumi for 2028 enti okan say aya na ye kan sam na kudu ba bia na aye bibi oho bi me kai there was a time be me call me no bi call baby tama port na ho ye indiani komudie ma no se memi wo nipa bi amanone na se me pese opeso de ne mabaga na so ontumi nyi a apart from car bibi biara owo bia no de ba ono indiani no obeyi ama no na okan majumu ya me na ono se don okan kire me na otu se no e power for pa so port me kan de bisa okan se ye ko sa kabuli no aye indiani warehouse ne hu ye hunu bi ye hunu de ya na ne bi no ene de gugu no so China ni factories ene ko hu no o mi na ya ho adwen be na sa ho ho egba wo kan fo ye this is obi to me ko esa wo India obi to me ko esa wo China
when we are mama passport me when him say about 4 years ago me kind graphic me keep yes and say na omo yi mi na me na mu bi omo de ko na Ghana ni bi na Nigeria
bi na yeah na ya mo
sa Ghana na me kan be say e bonaso ke kesi e bonaso pa wie na sika na nshi me kan video so na me kan me ni biri pa o de wo Ghana ni o de sika ko ma Nigeria no onko connection passport e ma ena Ghana essential for etro na omo tro ye di agro wa dodo ye di agro na chese ye no ni papa mu ka ye mpe ye ho ni boni musu ye mpe ye ho ye bokro no dade no kra no ye di koma bro enti ube hu se abrofo no company o mbebie mu na mu tere min crofo a mu di dwa o ka che se Ghana ni ekoji loan e wo bank ya bank mu pay for no ohun broni a na oboa no so Ghana for no ko a na che se ono ani bibi ni de na oyi nesi ofa asem na wo mu ne se country has see ayi bibi ya be duri se e be koso pa de a se ade ba ko te container sem mi futu kakra ne se yemma bambo for no security operatives they should have some space to work no mum politician for no so entwe mo man kakra ne akasa we mu yese no so emrase kakra maye so Ghana no ye ba akronosem yi pe na your disease be ya bi wo ye ho me friend the nation's mathematics and calculation deficiency akronosem ba pe no Ghana ade we etu ba ku mienu pe Ghana enko na Ghana ye beka krono asempe 2 we be 10 obi enum 2 we e be 60 obi enum ye de kosa ma ye debt stock je say e ka ye de amano nyina no yetimi ubo se donkuma say we say ansana IMF ana World Bank bebem no abeka say e ka mo de ye 10 cedis me nana eni ni enkofo mo ba ansan no ba no o man ko school yi bebre sa so o mu di dwa oton enchine e woni do chinsin mu milo chinsin mu no bidie sika wo o mutumi di dwa ehwe ye ma ye ko school no mo ye ko du PhD no enne tafrache we have educated thieves. I'm saying this with no regret. I want to apologize. Adena wo ye do ko school ya boka pa do ko school ebi mu wo kwa ye mo scholarship na do ko school nyina ewie no o ba ya wanya hwe ambre wase a o sa so be boy kro no hwe de ye ka poto wi ade na ye mbia bi wo mu wo ho a electricity ni ho nti no enkola entimi use computer enko school e wo ho akwara ni bi wo ha ye de ebo na ato table so na ye de kire omo so ka se hu sa video ni bi enne nyame ncha de amanda da na eye laptop e ma teacher fo yi ebi wo na teacher baako o de laptop ni siwa na akwara no se mo ye photo no mu ni classroom ho a obeche omu mienu ana miensa kakra begina ne nche o kire wo mu kakra wi a na mo so omo ne omo tinkran me ba na omo ono e di computer ndi ago nkran e be kire exam baako na sa ye do wako school na ewie no omo ketu aso nda form o omo so ne ye mo 40 60 70 80 no omo di seska ni wie a na omo aso abeka na sa boy hwe ade ba ko so amani age wo asemi epie mu transparency kakra da ho ye hu mu ye ko ye nim ye hu si a we fa we container si a wo kan e broni we enko chiri obe chere bibia de obeton ma no yo ye mamra ne enye eduma mesre ye ko ye nim emra no ye ma ne eduma sempo dade ne ba ko pe na bedi wo nsema se sa dade ne 1000 Ghana ye nko wo account mu na se 60000 ani nko yi 60000 amanone obi bobol na o fumra na wan tua task to a se ya woti Ronaldo mu ne Messi mu
omo bombo ka
ye di kaka kese bi asotwe ne be ma o china ye di ECG dade ba o company na wo hu se container ye be si oyi ehun se nsaminia unto krapo unya autofo krapo okruma asanse asotwe no ekoso na mesre ye ne speaker ma se be janfie omupin no ye ne ye meeting bi last week na de ko PM se na me hu se de bia me ka se e kanaba se a me misika ne hia me enye se ye de ne ko tufi ase ne hia me de di kan pa se misika no un se ye dore wo se wo na wa se ni ye bu aten na wie se wo de ne ko tufi ase 10 years a uni se ye na be man benku ene nkwan na we di wo ho ono we di ye dem no ye be sa ma ne dwane edi enye ne hia me ke ede na emra no be se pein no ne ka ne age ni chale o te krapo show de ba court you no share no krapo ye mbo don komi just ye sa asotwe no mra krobi so no ye yi utifi so enti na UAE nipa nitimi nkofo nitimi 5 mu wo Ghana ha enso nko du wo nim se ho mra no se ye dua o se kwa wo be kire wo enti ho no omu declare pepe man go shoot 7 billion enso ha de na 2 billion e wo ye humamu ha na twa to wo sa dem say airport de no so
yes ye be kan tia so di be fam say wiem sha be gina
we mu say security bambo ho ansem mo mayen fa eni brebi indi echiri ya edwin say enkoye amanya ko mienu ipe hu nsem o amano ne fotie
eno na be bisa say
ochina okotu kwan a ehun sonson aso be ba say wo krom no sa niama boni we na moye cocaine eni sa money laundering sika yedi sika kesi be fa fani amum wo be hwe na ko echiri kakra bribi etwem yedi asotwe bi to Ghana so e fa money laundering ni sa niama yi se ehu se sa se yanhwe na enukure bia emfiri mu amba na enyampa na sa niam we ye bekeka kaniam we ochina utu kwan a ye behwe ahwe watch yase watch ne ye hwem wie a na open ya okri ye bepepiem kura unkwa woni wadanfo bi efikuro bi so na mo kwa na wonkwa ye du so no be se 30 minutes ni ye sesa wontade mu adentia sa niam we for okrunti misre whistle blowing say obi the friend lapor no ehia say obi twa lapor kakra say no so wuyi sa bambo fo na asitiri a say boboa na ya bambo no wadwuma enso ye koye nim no entoro ko piem the friend misinformation e ko piem pe na ama wadwuma na aka wo ye say wo ko boy mu no akopra ye na woni da oso pa na wo ya that is emrani bi mu I think fear and panic ni sa niam nyina omo omre bi omo di ebe kire se wan
misinformation ni disinformation
wan hwe ni year na a kire se ade pa wo de ebe boaye no na wosu ko yi wuni se wo de be se na amaya ende na wakose ni amaya nti esere mo se wo information bi sa na ya na wo be hwe se ebre na kreatifo bi mu di nkrata bi mu pie efa cathedral ihu efa palugu nyama omo de nkrata be kire se nkrata se eni ye leak nti wo ko bu no wo se na ye bisa aban na aban no eyi anu eba eno be boa se o ka pray na o kire yi o kire pray no ni kala ana ye kire number ebre ba Ghana ebre etuye wo sa information ni kakra pe e de boa ya na ebe ma sa whistle blowing se wo so ba ko twa na wa boa na ya chi nkofo mu ye sa nya maboni eno so no aboa ye nti mesere pa 1 minute per galamsey dia no
galamsey yes
1 minute per
galamsey na
me nche wo hokra
ya hwe bibi the former sector minister kan ye asamabu jina po bae no me one of nipa me kasa me bonaba so me kaso ya branch enti no the kind of how kan o de sase gidigidi no me so ebetumi aboa pa but I always say so no ten akra na yes say yeso ni sase more pa wuji asam no katale so pa ne kan ko ne yonku minister so no se ne abre gidigidi wuji so betumi aye say that kind few minutes
make slow strides I mean ya hwa ban we obai me say odi wajim say o ye no kakra na ade baku bi mra bi a na matumi man kofo wura forest reserve sa mra no mesre o manpen obetumi a ontwem no yin firi ho so obetumi pa dia se o hwe sa galamsey fight so a ka metu aban for say on fasi aban badada no ye domestic debt ade na bangi bi mu ekodi ska eye boni wiye no ye de betwiri bangi na omomo no yi ska ni bi efi banks
bank also paid
ema ye omamfo ni krapo ebi me betwi ye ekra so ka ho wo be ka ya sa ni am nyina no ye fa bi sa enkoto sa extractive for no unim say extractive for no Ghana tax mram no wo ye profit man e bro so a unfaso e bro so a say santil so ya esamba sa enfan ko sa extractive for no gold price no e cost no na omuntim say 2% come no be kan for galamsey yin kwanti no omunfan ko sa 2% nko kan say me sa 3% na me pay 10% enti yanfa 2% nko kan bi na nya 5% 2% no yanfa be ye pillar of fighting galamsey sika na ye de be ye no yanfa be gum bebre na sesia no retooling police for number ko di galamsey fo neti ye mom cars bebre drone ene niama no mumfa nko nwura no so no mumfa nko ye doawa me dey am say asotwe no machine say ye gia who say district assembly sin bi o mu pa adwuma ye ene excavator ye mfa mom no mumfa nye adwuma e say wo de no unya ye no wan fa ko ye adwuma pa ye gia ye mfa nye adwuma pa na de be twa to okra ne kire say ye me say ensuo na omo say say ni ama na omo ye no ye say nkofo nti ase yi unim wiase afa na nyina uni obi ekọ okun war say Ukraine and Russia call war so it is against international law so the poison be gum omu kwa pa omu kunu na memi nya na me no te ha na me nya obone bia no wo the cyanide any we say mercury egunsuo ma no omu kunu kwa po yesi omu fa eduro egunsuo me a me no ni bibia sika na ka obenya ka me nye bi ni utoka so do be yi udi abeyi meni eno so di eduro ekogu mama me esi ankofo mo ye na omo chinam sa nsu no no omo dwuma sei nkofo na omo edi sa nsu ni bi eye efu kakra wo nsu na no omo so omo dwuma asei wase omo efu ni nyina so efiro nti misere omo
okay maduro ma ya hwe ye kan nyina no ekwa san besi ahoho so
Okay.
Kanda pa ka sen bi sasan ma ka makoso aka o se illegal mining e galamsey no a pose national security threat because most of the illegal miners are not Ghanaians, they are foreigners. Omo ya hoho. Owura kanda pa kan aban so ba yen so aban so be the same thing. Say I can make some mo do ho agimu no. A security threat. National Lance Minister Ekanen saying, do you think this government can fight the illegal mining? Galamsey, would you do?
Oh, easy. Easy, but a difficult journey. Before I ever buy one, now even our manifesto, page 73, you will see that we have outlined measures to curb Galamsey. Now, the Galamsey menace, no, if we have to be honest with ourselves, no, and yeah, idea one-off issue where you say, okay, tomorrow I've cleared them from the forest and that's it. First and foremost, is an economic issue. And anything that is an economic issue, to take it away from the people, you should be offering alternatives. I remember I used to consult for a National Board for Small Scale Industry, now GEA. You remember the time this Libya returnees and all that came to Ghana. We had a program, and it was a livelihood support program and training. We were able to train people in artisanal activities, to say masonry, to say painting, to say even small scale businesses like tabletop businesses, whatever, that to put their life back on course. In fact, some of those trainings are the things we even do for people like those returning from prisons and all that. And so we're not looking at this Galamsey fight only at removing people from the forest. We are move free forest now. Be brave, Ganani. I'm talking about the laborers. As for the white people, 10 people is enough to mine a hole, and you see thousands of young people. They are the ones who are digging the ground. And so, beyond the issue of taking them from the forest is the reality of providing alternative livelihoods for such people. So number one, when we decided to launch the river guards, the 200 of them, 2,000 or so that we want to train, their job is not just to be walking about and claiming that they are guarding the river. One is to create jobs for them. And we're using they themselves because majority of them know where these things are happening. They know the industry very well. They also understand where we can get these people who do their work overnight. And it's a whole regime. Number two, can the issue say, he said the foreigners are behind some of these things. When we caught Aisha, Juan or Aisha, whatever, what happened to Aisha? Aisha left this country under the cloak of darkness. In fact, she went and came back again with impunity. And then number one, another problem that we have to solve is the visa regime. You are coming to this country to do what? We need to be clear in our mind what you are coming to do when you are getting into this country. Especially Chinese, then Indian, for now, they are engaged in this Galamsey business. So we need to know. So that if I find you on the Galamsey site and I check your visa and I realize that while applying for the visa, you didn't state that this is the job you are coming to do, you are fired, you are gone. You are deported on the spot. And I can tell you confidently, sir, since we took over office, over 128 foreign nationals have been deported to their country, back to their country.
Based on not charged. Exactly.
My deportation on
why not charged and prosecuted?
So the difficulty in some of the issues with being charged or not charged is that we found you in an environment that we suspect you to be doing a job that you didn't tell us when you were coming in. It's a lesser evil to say, go back, we don't need you here, than to go through the process of charging the person to court, especially when you haven't caught them on any hard crime.
Because I remember the previous administration.
Some of the other countries, and some of the countries, it is not as though because we have taken you back, then you are going to sleep. Bilateral laws allow some of those countries to repatriate
the previous administration maybe say some ran on my say kobase bia ye chi obi na say mu side no ye nampa na the minimum sentence is about 25 years.
Yes, for foreigners are not supposed to.
Foreign be bana say jane sa ma no kosa na deport na it's
not like that. Those who have to be prosecuted with hard evidence are done. That will be done. First of all, let's not assume, say, because I've caught you and I'm prosecuting you, that's the end. It's also another charge to the government purse. Because to keep you in custody, give you food, feed you, look after you, and all that, is also another charge to the government purse. You have to weigh the options against how much I'll be spending in court for 6 months, keeping you, feeding you, until you are charged and you are thrown into our prisons, and what's the benefit?
Why don't we
so there are
the judicial system?
I'm coming there. So there are some that will be dealt with in our courts. Some too, they are minor, issues that we should just let them go back and ban them from coming ever back to Ghana.
But
it's enough
somebody that is well known.
No, so you are.
As someone, no. Okoye or no beer any mun or kimping crown or quite some.
Aisha.
No be a church or room crofos the end of the papa no buy send the end and Aisha
then is one of those we can quickly forget about. Number two, so I talked about the regime for coming into this country. Number two, you just mentioned one, the court. We have decided that we will have specialized courts that will fast track some of these prosecutions, especially in Galamsey. And I know that Attorney General has been working with the leadership, the Chief Justice, to establish some specialized courts for some of these issues. That's number two. Number three, the alternative livelihood support program that we are talking about. We have to do it. There's no negotiations about that. Because there are young people, they lie to them, carry them from the north or from the south to wherever some of those places are. They go and they lose their lives. Just last week, 6 people died in a pit, right? Yeah. Galamsey pit had collapsed on them. 6 people these are precious lives. These are likely even breadwinners. These are even people that, have a future for our country. But look at the way they died. And we need to do some of those things. Number three, we are saying that in the past previous administration, and I want to make this known on your platform, we were told they bought some 3 million worth of drones.
Yeah, the kind of drones
for fighting Galamsey. When you say up to now, we haven't sighted any of the drones.
Drones
now, Erastus Asaridonko is one of the few people that, if government ever meant business, is to give him some of these drones to work with. But the guy has to find his own machinery, equipment, in order to do some of this. And I congratulate him for what he's been doing to save Mother Ghana, including all the networks that have backed him up on this project. And the idea, we need some of these things to be investigated. Number 4, John Mama said, if you are an appointee in his government and you are involved in Galamsey, when you are caught, there are no negotiations about it. The law will cut us. You see, the bravado with which some of these Galamseyers do their job, it could only be with the tacit support of somebody in a higher office. It could only be. Last week I saw a video of somebody in an excavator. Yeah. Wielding a pump action gun.
Videos
we have prepared ourselves. We are ready for them and all that. Why? Some years ago, we even had some of them have a shootout with the police in the Galamsey pit, and we're beginning to see the trajectory. A lot of us forget too easily. You remember Major Mahama? What killed Major Mahama? What killed Major Mahama was a very painful death. That the young man who went on duty to do his job was mob actioned by his own people. I mean, when I say his own people, his own Ghanaians. He's not a foreigner. Your foreigners they are doing all kinds of things over there. They will not do some of those things on them. But your own Ghanaian, that's what happened.
Prince, can you hear no pa? Ghana any challenge China China any ko pata wabunumu no ko twi you. At the back again so bogan and need you. Prince I no. It is a China ni fini mamu. My old for this moment. Na me kwaya so sense every need. Sa China ni fini mamu ba. Na so no to Galamsey na me Ghana ni me ko complain say that o say my assassin say me issue no ono no ko pata wa agbase no ko YouTube de be che me Ghana ni so a o say me chi o my deport o say ko yeah
those
the kind deportation me ne aban we nya adwen me within the week now as well me no mo nya adwen on the deportation. What I must commend, however, is new IGP say he's going to fight it. Okay. He's doing a reshuffle. We hope say bio enye nsanko na nsamra. Jebia omo ho no they are compromised to a point say omo nkona nipa from menya sika ni. I hope that is not what it is. But we must commend the effort. Say new IGP say obekon Galamsey, and he's made an indication say well from the minister reshuffle all the commanders in those regions. Let new or more afofro embehwe no more has almost betimi akọ. I think that's a good thing. Agya Galamsey no ya ka ho asem ofia ha che. You see, but debi a be ka ho asem bia e kire oman no ye hawo as nipaku a ase ya boaboa ye ho ano say ye be say ye ho ni ebedi ye ho dem ye ka den a ye be say ye ho adi ye ho dem e ba ne say na nso me hu I think say nso I was a takwa water
treatment plant
this week me
ayatechen
ensem na no hard ensem na hard ensem na hard drain nti se bi ye no mateche de bia me busa wa say busa Ghana waterfall say treatment na omo ye no
ndro no mo de
no heavy metals no ka ho ana
debi
answer na ye debi nti ndro no edi yi fi no ene ani na aye kola no metals no wom aye nyina ye num bi agu ye yem akuye ho akuye ma akuye nananom sebi o adwea ye de tena se e ka se enye ye nkoa ye nwi transgenerational management of these resources kwan ben de befa so a sebi ye betu agudie no ba kwan ben de befa so a ye betu ama ye nse ye ho na ye eja yesusa mekai dwan kwanta ele play bi o mo se pot of gold and now for me and son no hu say agudie e wo kokoam enkosi ase no omo me say nyina we di adrogu we di emu we di ababo we obi anya agudie no efi say omo nyina enam omo greed inti agudie ni kai ababo obia, and it's a very common story. I'm sure say nyina eni sure it's a very common old story, but it's a reality say ye nyina ye besa ye ho agudie na nka form we di adro begu we di emu we bebo we na we akọ we ajama mi musa nsa mienu de di kan omo aye chiche omo aye si deport omo yi. What is the into who deport omo ba Ghana ni de ochi na be prosecute no.
Let me explain. Can I come in 1 minute? The people that have been deported, some are minor issues. For instance, you said your residence or you are going to be working in Accra. We find you in the Galamsey area. We haven't seen you done in the
so
Galamsey.
Do the investigation and charge them for it.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
So baby, one that we can say, we you na mo sign. Minya de mra na patch say, mra na me hu call bia.
Exactly.
Exactly. Galamsey for na woka.
Sa video na China ni tweet to Ghana ni so pacho ye no na ye fan sorry.
U hwe sa Galamsey na ye kan say na edema AD ni nti no say wuchi obi ade nti ono so na asem ne say kan ye doa o say kwan say ya.
E fa woni say o ye koko ana broni ana China ni.
Na say asa wo Nigeria ni ba no. Philippine baby I am say drag assembly ana Nigeria ban Nigeria man nyina e pacho say ono de obi de man no e no de ko sa mra yiti o udi ko ho a udi du ho na omo sa
o go and come no more
just say and
so be na suma wo nyo be na suma wo o ma fie bio
e say udi e kan wonti na wo so
ma me fama no de di kind no I would say who say answer na buy no basic na and I jamaica ofia the manifestos of both parties and kamia yes omo person omo solve the problem no. And I say at least they don't see it as existential threat as we see it. Because we know the interest. Some of it, I think Exim, the chairperson, is being alleged. Some of the MPs, the chiefs of some areas are alleged that some of the MPs are part of it. Which leads me to the campaigns. Or more, say excavator ye be say eja wona onim ka mo excavator ye say
million
modu pa skapudo pa
o ye sure so mo te amnanimu no e wo excavator sika nti why na koto excavator na why na di excavator ne ko ye na ye chin kra na ye prosecute omo no why excavator ho asem ne ye ka ho asem nti abane say no mo excavators ne ye omo dia no a mo excavators ne de one will say ya check san crofo ni mu ba akokra
David
one will say ya kan ho asem omo finance ni omo say bi omo sika wo mu na nkasa no one will say ya che obi wa ha. So I think say personally there were a lot there are a lot of issues with Galamsey. I think say ning konankasa started with former NDC. They lost the fight. MPP came, their first term office, saw some considerable effort. Ebekwa Abano, they left the fight. Second term, one of the worst records in Galamsey fight. One of the worst. I hope say NDC any renewed mandate. Omube wouldn't say this fight, a certain common in there. And common way is almost 10 years in common. Right? You didn't come away for consistently 10 years and a livelihood support. People are drinking mad. I'm not for no mateche. And we're here talking about livelihood support. Sebi. It's a question of priority. Gold, no, because he say the revenues, GDP growth, no, from last year. Gold growth is one of the significant parts. We don't want quality of life. You better na ye. You better no mateche. Me are no mercury. Me are kuya ho.
Me wa good music and do na ye actually to go.
Inti
repatriation.
Na ye tu sika kokoro no to say o slaves. A ye te atechem. Ye wi a ye de bekwa amanone. No omo de aye omo de na nipa bebre se nyam ka kwa mituafo na ewom na omo beto oman no. No omo anya omo ho de. Ni abo omo ose. Ya bo omo ose anom de atoka akese. Ni apa omo chew. No ma be. If that's the society we want, fine. But clearly that is the expression. Say you nyina no ankon makubi a omo de politics ata akire. Enam sa kwan no so e de nyina yenku ye ho. No omo kwan nya omo ho. No omo nya omo ho wi a omo sa fa tumi aboso. No omo de tumi boso wi a omo asa be ma ye nkakra na ye ka be enye ye de nti eja misero say man panyifo tem 8 year Galamsey fight no I think say we are giving them the benefit of the doubt because we are seeing some action. There's some renewed effort and we can't say the minister there are some efforts but say Cronford the two jina open anwa. And yes, at time no near say me wo toy gun na me ba no wo your friend say toy two no there so ni bi nti me ko fasa so no abehwe agu no so this is it's almost synonymous with a war.
It's a war. It's a war.
And they are wielding guns. That is why people are talking about declaration of state of emergency because
it's a war. Even you are saying there are even foreigners in there.
It's a co in a way that needs the attention. And when you for say you yes e bia ye ho nete ye kasa keke baby aja make I think make our video mo de manyini kakra make na his excellency ambassador wa mo de manyini ma ya mo de e bia the least of you may be in their 50s nti everyone say nya mecha mo 80 kra ka by 30 nti mo nsan nwie no mo bedi mo de na matena se na moko. Have you thought about some of us? Have you thought about Monananum? Have you thought about 4 generations down the line? What does it mean for this country in the next 100 years?
no ya
me chat quick one so who can IGP assembly kudolo condolences to him around this time and Juma isu akosoro ana asema beto no so die the man yako papa akpomo kama man ne hono so condolences to the family but sa papa na ade na ye me yapa if we want to grow industries in this country what he went through and some of the things he said no yemfa video ni enhwe say sa debt exchange nkwa say di ni dem we shouldn't go there again and then the final one is wishing the vice president a speedy recovery which would depoliticize that discussion. It's a sensitive we are that mean you know say so be yare na Ghana fa na obi ewu a the way a lot of asempa yen na ever back together what happened to our social net na obi yare na we did the same thing to Professor Mills. We shouldn't do it again.
Yeah, that's it.
We shouldn't do it.
Open you say a friend Gordon Kofi Amwa or Teo Watakra dementia.
Yo, Brad Kofi me that's it, Papa.
But good, you see that big good case.
1 minute. No, 1 minute. On the 10th, there will be a youth summit in Ketu South.
Okay.
They know.
Okay.
I will be gracing the occasion. I'm encouraging my people to come out in their numbers. Okay. And let's do this for Mother Ghana.
Okay. I'm a shaman never did. I'm a shaman never did. I know them very well. Oh, you know them very well. I know Juji. I know if any have people small wherever.
But they don't work like money.
Shanti Regional Police Command the Ababontin DSP Ahianuni and Sasha said local Adventist Senior High School 16-year-old student at the Postal Labo School. Now I said the other year show off no you two know the church and do my including classmates no and a pa 2 year ma a book school ni back on any ama she say no a woman from within a man also almost almost shimu say ya quarantine ni etu no educo school ho no enti baby a edru no we parental something must come in here 16 years enti a wake up call nsem bi sisi a say atwe adwene esi ne mahodo so last maybe say question be say how well do you know your child? It's very, very, very important. But nti some say be die na de be sibia no ya mamma hu ni nyina nti medan abedwafo ase so mu ni abre baaye na yedi nkomo na ene minifa so pe Wonder Madilo oye development consultants na obeka yensa ene na mebinkum so Jeffrey Kabute Okanse or executive director Revenue Mobilization Africa and afi Yaosompa ono so lawyer ni and ono so skasam so abi wo mu and ono so de ne na dwenche ne ndi susuye ebeta ye chi beda production team ni nyina so ase so mutumi behihye dwumadi na me so bebetena ha na me di hu chi amen me soro so e mo na me fo nyina e ma ye ho hyeden sanse ne na wo twepepepe and na Jore Idua Jore efirimu ya enti me da be di na wo tweda e wo Dansuman Mames in bi opoku lane no so hwa enti mo na me fo nya no pay me ma mu nyina hyeden ye soro so akọ na mekoso aka enya temdidie na de chichiri kuro na mu ye de no kore na chichiri kuro se ye ka omo a akasa e de fa galamse hu a I started it NDC administration ana mahama also 2013 na Kolizauda so be ka kire wo a be tata no office ana menya no ahomache obo 5:30 na mti di fie na metwen no he was the then lands minister be koya ma be bia nkrofo bi ko too good e wo shebi do masere portrasi dia say denso no anyeye be ko over 1 year ene deus na say minya hwasam ka hu ti piaga aya mun ti bi ye se bi se minya hwasam ka da aban ba se ye hwe dom so mbeye ti ebo mutam kakra bi na so mutumi anya trust me besa betena ha bi se me mani 4 na hwe MPP a bi de mani 8 ina be hwe NDC bi de maso 4 ina ti MPP a bi de maso 8 ina be ti NDC nti mu de munya botre kra ye hwe okon afa galamse hu no yɛbɛdi ho dwuma na mmom ɔma ne yɛyɛ dea moma yɛntena se ɛnkɔnkɔfa hɔhoɔ ɛmɛsɛ yɛn man no ɛsan sɛ ba say a wɔn nyinaa bɛkɔ back to their country yɛsɛ man no na yɛn yɛ tim saa ne yɛpɛ no yɛbɛtumi akɔyɛ sɛ obi man so adan ne yɛyɛ ho saa yɛbɛka ne agya bi yakɔpɔ yɛ adomada se na yɛbɛhyia yɛkra mu nyinaa